Since I clearly know very little about the genre of music we are playing today, I take the following suggestion from you, a little lost in music from Sister Sledge, to begin our program for this Friday morning, the 20th of March. Oh, we're counting down. We're almost into the minutes of the final minutes of winter as we anxiously anticipate spring. But starting with Sister Sledge and Lost in Music, because the intro to the song was played by none other than Niall Gregory Rogers Jr., who, as the co-founder of Chic, or is it Chick? I'm pretty sure it's Chic, wrote, produced, and performed on records that have sold more than 750 million albums and 100 million singles worldwide. That is his guitar on the intro to Lost in Music by Sister Sledge, as we begin the All Request Friday with a little bit of disco music. That is the theme for our All Request Friday today. And as much as I would love to allow you the opportunity to make a request and be a part of the show in that manner, you're just going to have to lend us your ears today and tune in to hear the other songs that have been requested, because we are jam-packed already with requests for this All Request Friday, the disco edition. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Farwell, why would you even consider going back to a genre of music that many of us are happy is dead? I'm among those. Disco is dead. God rest its soul. But if you were listening on Monday, every Monday morning at 11 a.m., we do a look back at this week in music history with our good friend and musicologist Brian Allison. And he shared a little tidbit with us that just made me decide spontaneously in the moment that this Friday's theme for All Request should be disco music.
In 1978, these guys were just everywhere. And this week in music history in 1978, they scored a record that's never been repeated to this day. They had the top 3 songs on the U.S. singles chart, 1, 2, and 3, but all performed by different artists. So the number 1 spot was held by Night Fever, which was performed by the Brothers Gibb, their band, the Bee Gees. Number 2 was held by brother Andy Gibb with his song, Love is Thicker Than Water. And then the number 3 song, a song called Emotion by Samantha Sang, which was also written by the Brothers Gibb. So these guys, their songwriting abilities, like it or not, it's not everybody's style, but I mean, they were able to produce hits. You could arguably say that they were the most successful recording artists of the 1970s.
There you go. The Brothers Gibb, Andy and Barry, and the Bee Gees. And you'll probably hear some Bee Gees during this All Request Friday disco edition. But it was Brian that planted that seed with the remarkable feat that the Brothers Gibb had pulled off on This Week in Music History. So we thought disco could be our theme. 5 minutes past 9 on this Friday morning. We have a lot to talk about on the show today and a lot to look forward to, not just through the day, not just the arrival of spring, but that final regular season home game for our Kitchener Rangers. 1 week from today, we're going to start the playoffs, and I don't know about you, but I can't wait. It was such a thrilling night earlier this week when the Rangers beat the Flint Firebirds and beat them pretty good, too, to wrap up first place, clinch first in the Western Conference, and have home ice advantage in the playoffs all through the Western Conference playoffs as long as the Rangers are around. Something to look forward to for sure. I know there's been some talk about this podcast appearance, and it's almost being dismissive to call it just a podcast, right? When the leader of the federal Conservatives goes on to one of the biggest shows on the planet, the Joe Rogan Experience. I don't think podcast gives it enough credit, to be honest with you, but what to make of this? Now, I have not heard the entire show as of yet, but I will say a few things just by way of observation. One is, this certainly doesn't hurt Pierre Poilievre in any way. I'm not certain, though, how much it helps Pierre Poilievre, because I'm always reminded of what a buddy of mine said some time ago when he was watching some American cable news and saw a Democrat appearing on Fox News. And he said, see, that's what the Republicans have to do more of. They have to spend more time on CNN. I confess to not watching much of the American news networks. I'm not a fan of CNN at all. But he made a lot of sense, and it gave me something to think about, right? We know that in the United States, CNN leans left and Fox News leans right. And so if you are a left-leaning politician, i.e. a Democrat in the States, and you go on CNN, who are you talking to? You're talking to your audience. You're talking to your people, the people who likely already support you. And that's the same for any Republican, any right-leaning politician in the States who goes on Fox News. You're merely preaching to the choir. So I think in this case, while I don't think there's any harm in what Pierre Poilievre did, I don't know how much it helps because really he's just talking to his audience. A couple of things, though, I think Mr. Poilievre deserves credit for in the interview he did or the conversation he had with Joe Rogan. One is Pierre Poilievre kind of avoided the trap, if you will, of speaking ill of Prime Minister Carney, even though Rogan kind of led him down that path. Mr. Poilievre made it clear that he's not going to speak ill of his colleague in Canadian Parliament on foreign soil. So he's not going to take any shots. We know Pierre Poilievre is not shy about taking shots in the House of Commons, that's for sure. As the leader of the opposition, we know his style, but he wasn't about to engage in that kind of behavior when he was on foreign soil. And he even got teased a little bit by Rogan from that. It's so Canadian of you to be so polite. But I thought that was a strong win, a strong takeaway. And the other thing where this might have been a win for Pierre Poilievre, just given Joe Rogan's reach, and that is his message, Pierre Poilievre's message, that the tariffs that the United States is imposing on many parts of the world, including Canada, are a bad thing for American consumers. And given the sheer size of Joe Rogan's audience, maybe that message gets through to a few people. Even Joe Rogan's support for or messaging around Donald Trump has evolved over time. So maybe that turns out to be a bit of a win from the leader of the federal Conservatives as well. And frankly, you're not going to find a show that big in Canada. It also occurs to me, as I was making that point initially about how much this really helps Pierre Poilievre, because mostly he's speaking to people who would already be likely to support him. You don't even have that opportunity in Canada, do you? We don't really have, unless I'm missing it, we used to have the Sun News Network, but we don't really have a right-leaning news network in Canada for Pierre Poilievre to appear on. So anytime he does, he's going to be in a somewhat less friendly, I guess, situation.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10.
All right, let's get to your Farwell Show 5 for this Friday morning. And we'll start at number 1 because the beginning's always the very best place to start. A rifle manufacturer in Kitchener has landed a federal contract worth more than $300 million. Defense Minister David McGuinty was at Colt Canada yesterday to make the announcement, saying this is sending a signal that Canada is open for defense business and ready to invest at home.
Made by Canadians for Canadian soldiers. Prioritizing Canadian expertise. Investing in Canadian capacity, research, development, engineering. Buying Canadian. Because that's how we ensure our armed forces have the right equipment when they need it for the long term.
Yesterday's announcement, part of more than $93 billion in defense spending that has been pledged by Ottawa. Number 2, spring officially arrives in less than 2 hours. The new season begins at 10:46 this morning. Bring it on. Please, the sooner, can we speed up some time today? I even busted out a golf shirt. Not because the weather necessarily says it's golf season, but because I'm over it, winter. So I'm going to do everything I can to ensure that spring knows its time is here. And spring's time is 10:46 this morning. Number 3 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning. Good news and bad news in local hockey. Let's start with the good. How about those Cambridge RedHawks completing a first-round sweep of the Caledonia Corvairs, finishing off the series last night with a 5-0 win. In Ayr, the Centennials, though, were beaten 9-2 by the St. Catharines Falcons. And the host Waterloo Warriors were blanked 2-0 by Guelph in the quarterfinals of the U Sports Women's Hockey Championships in Elmira. That means the Warriors are eliminated. But hey, Guelph, still a local team, right? Just down the road. And if you hop on Wellington Road 86, it'll take you right to Line 86, right into Elmira. Short little drive, beautiful country roads. Guelph fans can get here and follow those Griffins. And just as hockey fans and sports fans, we are going to be treated right through Sunday to some of the best young women hockey players in this country at the U Sports National Championships happening at the Dan Snyder Memorial Arena. So don't give up on the tourney just because our Warriors are out. Number 4 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, Fashion for Change happens this weekend at the University of Waterloo. It's a student-run nonprofit organization that's got members from both Waterloo universities, so UW and Wilfrid Laurier, plus Conestoga College. Their annual fashion show happens on Saturday at the Haggie Hall of the Humanities at UW. It raises money this year for Women's Crisis Services of Waterloo Region. To date, Fashion for Change has raised more than $120,000 for charity. And number 5 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, it's an afternoon of blues in support of Ray of Hope tomorrow. It's going to run from 2 until 5 at the Edelweiss Banquet Hall. You all know the Edelweiss, right? Homer Watson and Dune Village in Kitchener. The event will feature Juno and Maple Blues Award winner Paul Jones and the Paul Jones Band with guest band, the Andy Parker Band. You can get tickets at the door. They're going to have a 50-50 raffle as well. All of this in support of Ray of Hope. It's an afternoon of blues tomorrow at the Edelweiss from 2 until 5. And that is your Farwell Show 5 for a Friday morning.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good,
It
though.
could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!
Hey, boo!
Boo!
Something we always do on Fridays, along with Free Phones Friday, noon until 1, our final hour together, making sure the phone lines are open to you. Our Friday 4 roundtable between 11 and noon, our coaches show at 10:30. We also do our not $1 million question, where I ask you a really difficult question and you try to impress us with the size of your brain. We'll get to that not $1 million question in just a moment, but every day we start the show, phone lines are open, and Mary is on the phone with us. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning on a wet Friday, but hey, it's Friday.
It's Friday.
Hey, go Rangers, go, of course.
Of course.
I watched, they played it on RTV, the whole thing with Joe Rogan.
Yeah. What'd you think?
I was impressed by the way he answered things. I really was. He had kind of not been the fiery guy he used to show. I think we could all be proud of him. And I was really impressed that he would not, even having to been tried to goad into talking about Carney, he declined, and I thought that was admirable.
Yeah, I agree.
And the other thing is, I'm disturbed because Mexico is already getting involved in the Kuzma talks, not us. What's wrong with Carney?
He's globe-trotting to different parts of the globe, I guess.
I don't care about, I guess. He should be caring about us.
Sure.
And since he got in and was going to make this deal in 60 days, has done nothing but globe-trot and hasn't helped the Canadian life in any way. And that's my thoughts, and I'm sticking to them.
Okay. Mary, before you go, I knew she was going to go because she left us with her laugh. I ran into a woman at the Downtown Showdown on Wednesday afternoon when the Rangers were playing their ball hockey tournament downtown Kitchener. We all had some fun. It was a great day. And I ran into a woman who said she listens to the show every day, really enjoys it. And when she doesn't hear from Mary, she just gets a wee bit concerned. She loves hearing from Mary on the show. So there you go. If you are one of our regulars, Farwell Force members, just know that your contributions are not only welcomed, but I think they're expected to some degree. And this woman wanted to say how big a fan she was of Mary. So, Mary, appreciate your input on the show this morning. And now that listener who says she's with us every day knows that you're doing well and you've still got that signature laugh. And that's why Mary is Farwell's Force member number one in our hearts on our list of Farwell's Force members. Just to finish off the point about Pierre Poilievre's appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience yesterday. The ability to sit down and have those long-form interviews offers tremendous opportunity to the person partaking in it, right? I had said when David Drew was here this past Monday, and David is with us every Monday morning at 11:30 for Drew's Views. David, a former Conservative Party staffer, having worked with former Kitchener-Conestoga MP Harold Albrecht when Harold was in office. But David and I were talking about Pierre Poilievre, and I mentioned an interview with Mr. Poilievre that I had read, and it was a longer form, detailed interview, and it came across very well. The message that Pierre Poilievre was sending really resonated with me. And David pointed out how in opportunities like that, in interviews like that, where you have sort of the time and the space to deliver a message in that manner, it tends to come across well. The challenge then becomes taking those longer form points and formulating them into the soundbite style message that we're all looking for these days. And Pierre Poilievre has made a pretty good living as the leader of the opposition with some more snarky sound bites and messaging. And I don't know. I don't know if it clearly it didn't resonate enough to get him elected to become our prime minister in the last federal election. So we shall see if there's a different tone. I don't suspect there is. I just think these forums, a long form printed or written interview and a, hours long conversation with Joe Rogan can turn into something that is a little bit softer around the edges, so to speak. All right, let's get to that not $1 million question for this Friday morning. In case you'd forgotten, I have to call it the not $1 million question because I opened my big mouth one day and said, I called it the $1 million question, and somebody asked if they get it right, are they getting $1 million? And as much as I would like to give you $1 million, I cannot do that. I have not got that kind of money. We know the company that owns this radio station does, but they don't give it away like that. Anyway, let's get to it, okay? So we call it the not $1 million question, and if you get it right, we're just going to be impressed with you. We will go through our weekend talking about that smart person we heard on the Farwell show Friday morning. Your question today is this. 29% of people, so about 1 in 3, say this is the first thing they do after waking up, even before getting out of bed. What is it? What is it that 29% of us, almost 1 in 3, say is the first thing we do before even getting out of bed? You think you know the answer? You want to take a shot at it? Give me a call. 519-570-2545, star 570, 1-800-570-5715. Your not $1 million question. Who's got the answer? Coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is an all-request Friday disco edition. And Sandy wanted to hear some Donna Summer and Hot Stuff by request. Your request, our command here on All Request Friday. On Fridays, we also ask the not $1 million question. Today, that question is 29% of us, almost 1 in 3, say this is the first thing they do after waking up. Even before getting out of bed, what could the answer possibly be? George, double O George, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
You know the answer?
Yes, I think I do. You're going to end with me here. I'm pretty sure I know this one.
All right, one and done. Let's go.
They wake up and they pray and thank the Lord for a new day.
Oh, George, I love the sentiment. That's not the answer we're looking for, but good on you. Just, hey, it's good to be waking up on the right side of the grass, not the answer we're looking for. Francis, Farwell's Force member number 36, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. I was also going to say that, but I also wiggle my toes and make sure that I have my legs underneath me, that I'm around to help Sherry out. And, when I'm a year older of yesterday, the days are getting shorter all the time.
How many years now, Francis?
78.
78. Happy birthday, my friend.
Well, thanks very much, and I'll say God bless.
God bless.
And I got the answer right?
I'm afraid not, but thanks for playing.
Come on with your come on.
Come on with your coming on, says Francis. It's not wiggle your toes to make sure the legs are still working. Paul, good morning.
Good morning.
What do you think it is that we do after waking up even before getting out of bed? At least 29% of us do this.
I think I have the answer.
Okay.
Check our phones.
That is exactly what I was thinking, Paul, and we are both exactly wrong.
Oh, okay.
It's not check your phone, but good guess.
Hey, thanks.
Thanks, Paul. Good guess because it was my guess too, right? Clinton, good morning.
How's it going, Mike?
I'm all right. How are you?
Not too bad.
The guy that got 2 out of our last 3, I believe, right?
I know. That was actually my first guess, but apparently it's wrong.
Oh, checking your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got another one off the top of your head?
Hit the snooze button.
Oh, that's a good one. I do it every day. Actually, I didn't do it today, but that's not the answer we're looking for. Thanks, Clinton. I appreciate it. Let's get in one more before the news update. Maureen, good morning to you.
Good morning. I say kiss their bed partner.
See, I thought of that after I thought of checking my phone, too. I think that's a good one. I like it, Maureen. I hope we all do that, but not the answer we're looking for.
Okay, I just wanted to add, too, that on Power and Politics, Pierre Poilievre's full speech was on that he gave in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very well done. I'm not a big Poilievre fan, but I was really impressed with him.
Thanks, Maureen. I appreciate that. I got to run to get to news, but it seems like the full court press from the leader of the federal Conservatives is working. So it's not kiss your partner. It's not thank the Lord for a new day. It's not wiggle our toes. It's not check our phone. It's not hit the snooze button. What is this thing that 29% of us do first thing after waking up, even before we get out of bed? We'll take more guesses at 9:45. But now to the 570 News Center for an update. And then let's meet the family that has captured the hearts of the local hockey community. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. If this is going to be disco, I can get behind disco. Don't mind me some Stones. That's a little bit of Miss You by request from Brian on this All Request Friday. disco edition. Really pleased to be joined in studio by our next guest, who, along with his family, is going through something that we wouldn't wish anybody to have to go through. But there is a silver lining to this story, I think, and that's the amount of community support that has rallied around the Yoshi family. But Cody Yoshi joins me in studio. He's the father of Harrison, and you may have heard all of the talk about supporting Harrison after his diagnosis with brain cancer. Cody, thanks for stopping by this morning.
Thanks for having me, Mike. I really appreciate the chance to be here.
How's everybody doing?
Well, with all things considered, Harrison is on his way right now to Hamilton for his daily treatment. He goes Monday to Friday every day for it's a 6-week long program. He's coming up on his last leg of it. He'll actually be finishing it next Thursday, so that's a huge accomplishment. But other than that, we're it's day by day. We take it day by day, and finding the positives in it all. And Harrison's a extremely resilient and strong kid, and he approaches it with the same mentality. So super positive in that sense.
9 years old?
He's 9 years old.
9.
Yeah, correct.
I remember when the story first came out, and we're talking about this 9-year-old at the beginning of this medical journey that you just, again, wouldn't want to wish on anybody. And seeing some support, I know you and the family were there dropping a puck before a Rangers game. Can you take us back to the beginning, Cody, and how you learned what Harrison was dealing with?
Yeah, it was a bit of a process in the sense of the word. Just before the Christmas holidays there, he had a practice. I'm an assistant coach on his team. He kind of fell at practice. If you've ever watched, 9-year-old kids practice, it happens, half a dozen times a session. Didn't really think anything of it. It wasn't until later on that night he was showing some, I would call them concussion-like symptoms, in the sense that he was a little bit disoriented. We took him to Grand River Hospital. There it was, it was getting looked at as if it was a concussion. He had a CT scan, and again, they're looking for a kind of head trauma issues, excessive swelling, fractures, internal bleeding, that kind of thing. He was discharged, fine over the Christmas holidays, status quo, and a couple weeks later, he had a little bit of he had facial paralysis, meaning that half of his face kind of went numb there, and that those symptoms lasted for about 15 minutes. Again, we took him to the hospital. By the time, he was looked at, those symptoms had passed. Again, since the original thought was that he had fallen and hit his head, that, for the next couple weeks, when these symptoms kept on coming back, and we took him to specialists and, sports medicine clinics, so forth and so on, it was then being looked at as post-concussion syndrome. It wasn't until we took him to the University of Waterloo Optometry Center, where the students actually took a look at his eyes and took a picture behind his eyes, that they noticed that there was swelling on the back of his optical nerves. From there, they wanted us to get a second opinion, sent us down to Hamilton. I'm pretty sure it was St. Joe's. There, that was confirmed. Immediately, they forwarded us on to McMaster Children's Hospital. There was a follow-up CT scan, and at that point is when they found that he had several tumors on his brain.
That's absolutely incredible how you go from trying to treat concussion or post-concussion to finding tumors. But who would think a 9-year-old has the tumors on his brain?
Exactly. The doctors, initially they kept on asking, have you noticed anything in Harrison for the past couple months, blah, blah, blah. Harrison plays AAA hockey. They're on the ice 5 times a week, high intensity. So, as far as coordination, stamina, anything like that, he was status quo right up till this all began. So, obviously, it was alarming. It was shocking, and it happened so fast. From that Friday when he went to the University of Waterloo to the Sunday morning, he had his biopsy. He had brain surgery. So within 72 hours, you go from thinking that this is, as I said, post concussion or something like that, to obviously diagnosis and news that no parent, nobody wants to ever come across. So it happened extremely fast.
What goes through your mind as fast as it's going? I mean, how are you responding to this?
I don't know if you can really put words to it in the sense of it. It's overwhelming. We have 3 other beautiful children. So that comes across your mind, obviously Harrison. And then, you just don't know. Every day is a new day now. Your outlooks on everything changes. How you approach everything changes. Your values, what you think. And now we're in a whole new world. So, lots of education as far as Harrison's diagnosis, and we're in a new community in the sense of the word as well. Like I said, we're in the Javinsky Cancer Center every day. We go from being at the Don McLaren or Activa to these emergency rooms and doctors. So it's a whole new team. Whole new system. You just used the word community, Cody, and again, I know it doesn't change what you're going through and how every day is so different, but the community, and I might say specifically the hockey community, has really rallied. I mentioned the dropping a puck before a Rangers game, and that's just one small part. Hundreds of thousands of dollars raised through a GoFundMe campaign so far. How has the community rallied around your family and Harrison? Again, it's my words can't do it justice in the sense of it. I grew up in this community playing, my rep AAA hockey in Waterloo. Before that, I was out in St. Clements. It's extremely special. It's uplifting. The hockey community specifically has just, wrapped their arms collectively around us and lifted us up in these trying times. The outpour, the outreach from the minor hockey level to, as you mentioned, the Kitchener Rangers to, even the pros. It's just been, it's constant. It's every day. It's obviously it's something I wish I didn't have to experience in the sense of it, but it's an extremely positive thing. I think, sports and rep sports, specifically hockey, there's sometimes there's, negative talk about the culture of it. And, it's, I spend every day with these kids, with the team. That's Harrison's family. And they've treated us as such. So I can't say enough positive things about it. It's just been, it's been unremarkable. So what's the prognosis, Cody? Harrison has diffuse midline glioma, and it's in his brain, and it's in his It's also in his spinal fluid. So the first 4 weeks of his radiation treatment, it targeted his spine as well as his brain. And then for the last 8 sessions, so from midweek this week to next Thursday, it'll just be concentrated on his brain.
How's he doing through it all?
You know, like I said, he's an extremely resilient kid. He's strong. He's positive. He just takes it one day at a time. He never complains about it. He just goes about it as if it's just, his job to, get through it. Never complains. So as far as Harrison goes, we couldn't ask anything more out of him. He's an example of everything you hope your kid would be during these times. He's a role model for us.
I was just going to say the same thing. He's everything I hope I could be on a daily basis, to be honest with you. That's incredible stuff. I can't imagine, Cody, what you're all dealing with, you, your wife, your other 3 children, and not to mention Harrison, but really appreciate you sharing the story. And I'm glad we can talk about one positive aspect of it in terms of you're not in this alone by any stretch.
No, exactly. And I think that just, it just goes to show that, right? My wife didn't grow up in a hockey family. She thought I was a crazy hockey dad for the past couple of years, always taking Harrison to, 6:30 a.m. practices, spring hockey, you name it, right? So for her, it's been awesome for her to see that, the reason why you put your child in these sports, whether it's hockey or anything else, a team aspect, it's for this, right? It's for, you hope that you teach your child or you teach your players, the values of being a part of a community, that you play for the name on the front of your jersey and not the back, that you're all in it on together, you all pull for the same cause. And this just really amplifies that and just really goes to show that, these values, these core lessons, shine through at the darkest moments. And, it's all not for nothing. I think it gets lost sometimes, especially nowadays with rep sports where you get lost in the wins and loss columns. You get, you have open borders now. And, I think it's nice to know that, at times like this, it is one community, it's one family. I know I mentioned to you earlier, it's once you're in the hockey community long enough, it goes from 6 degrees of separation to 1, and that's really shown as far as the outreach has gone for Harrison and our family.
Appreciate you sharing the story, Cody. And of course, it goes without saying, our very best to Harrison and the rest of you as you go through this. We're all pulling for you, and we're pulling for the positive outcome here. Thanks for this.
Thank you very much.
Cody Yoshi joining us in studio this morning on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Moving my feet to the disco beat.
Well, you knew we couldn't go through an All Request Friday disco edition without a little bit of Rick Dees and his cast of idiots with some disco duck here on the show. Both Ron and Byron wanted to hear Disco Duck on the show. Did I get the request names right? Let me just make sure I got that right. Ron and Byron, yes, wanted to hear Disco Duck on your All Request Friday. Something else we do on Fridays, your not $1 million question today. We're asking you what it is we do. 29% of people say this is the first thing they do after waking up, even before getting out of bed. What is this thing? Nate sends an email to Mike at 570news.com. 20 years ago, I would have said stretching, but in 2026, I think the answer is check their phone. That's been guessed. So then Nate says, so it is stretching. Nathan's email, stretching, also not the answer we're looking for. Let's go back to the phones, see if we can find the answer there. Melody is with us. Good morning, Melody.
Good morning, Mike.
What do you think the answer is? What does 1 in 3 of us do before getting out of bed?
I look at the clock.
Look at the clock. I see. You know what happens if I look at the clock, Melody? I say bad words.
Oh.
That's a very good guess, but not the answer we're looking for. Okay. Thanks for the call. Good to hear from you today. Let's find out if Mary knows our answer. Hello, Mary.
Hello, Mike.
What is it that we do after the first thing we do after waking up,
Yawn.
even before getting out of yawn? That's another very good guess, but not
the right answer.
Not the right answer.
Oh, darn. Well, and also my heart and prayers go out to your previous guest.
Isn't he something, eh?
Oh, it's just heart.
It is.
It really is.
I look at Harrison's picture and I get all choked up.
Yeah. And also I think that lady that likes to hear from me, she made a dull, dark day bright for me.
Oh, I'm glad she did. You make our dull, dark days bright, too.
Bye.
Bye, Mary. Thank you. Good to hear from you today. Ron's guess via email to Mike at 570news.com. I was thinking turn off the alarm clock, but I do stretch out before I get out of bed. So that's my answer. Lots of guesses. Stretching, not the answer we're looking for. Guesses about checking phones. Nope, not the answer. Another, John sends a full-blown stretch similar to what a dog does every time they wake up, including a loud sigh. And Jim's email to Mike at 570news.com. What other people do before getting out of bed? Break wind. Jim, have you ever woken yourself up breaking wind? Because that happens sometimes, 29% of people say this is the first thing they do after waking up, even before getting out of bed. What is it? I'm going to take one more because Rock and Ronnie's on the phone. Last guess to you, Ronnie. Can you get the answer to our not $1 million question?
Hi, Farzi.
Hey, Ronnie.
I was thinking planning your day ahead in your mind.
That'd be a good thing to do. That's a good use of your time, but it's not the answer we're looking for.
Okay, go Rangers.
Go Rangers. Thanks, Weebs. Great to hear from you. Amy, last second chance. What do you think?
Okay.
Okay.
If you're like me, in the morning, you put your glasses on so you can see where you're going when you get out of bed.
I can't even see the alarm clock fully. It's all blurry, those red numbers. That's a good guess, but it's not the answer we're looking for.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Amy. I like that one. 29% of people say this is the first thing they do after waking up, even before getting out of bed. What is it? Complain. We complain even before getting out of bed. I can tell you, I don't do that. I wait until 9 o'clock. Then I get to complain for 4 hours right here on the show with you. Going to get you an update from the 570 News Center, and then your 2026 Ontario Easter Seals ambassador is from Cambridge, and you'll meet him next on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
People have the right to share all of
So apparently, the Village People did songs that were not called YMCA. Says the guy who not only knows little about disco. Well, I know little about it because I don't like the disco songs. Sam I Am, you cannot make me like them with my green eggs and ham. I'm going to have to stop saying that. That's become a real... I don't know why I always default to Dr. Seuss, but nonetheless, today's All Request Friday theme is disco because it was on This Week in Music History. We learned earlier this week on the show that the brothers Gibb had the top 3 spots locked up on the music charts with songs they either wrote and performed or just wrote. And I thought to myself, on the spot, it was a rash decision that I might be regretting now because I don't like disco. We thought we're going to do disco for All Request Friday. I Am What I Am by request from Terry. It's the Village People on your All Request Friday this morning. What song could possibly be coming next? Well, that's the beauty of an All Request Friday, isn't it? You'll just have to wait about 10 minutes to find out. In the meantime, I have little doubt that you will enjoy this next conversation because it is with a young man from Cambridge who just so happens to be Ontario's Easter Seals ambassador. Miles Checkley is the young man's name. He was born with cerebral palsy, uses a power wheelchair to get around, and he is hoping that through his advocacy as an Easter Seals ambassador, he can not only share his story, but encourage others to focus on what people with disabilities can do. So as Miles joins the program this morning, let's start with what an ambassador does. Miles, as the provincial Easter Seals ambassador, what does this mean you will be doing?
We help to raise money for Easter Seals in general by going to all these events throughout Ontario. So there's different kinds like dance events and there's like some with like sports people and local news people. We just help to raise money by sharing our stories and talking about how Easter Seals helps us because they help with funding for home and vehicle modifications and commodes and wheelchairs and camp. So we talk about how that helps us or helps kids to live their best lives and why people should donate, basically.
Let's talk a little bit about those camps because I know there's a camp near London. I'm going to try here. Woodenden? Is that how you...
Wood Eden.
Wood Eden, of course.
It's a little bit of a mouthful. That's okay.
Okay, so you've been going there for about 10 years now. Tell me about Wood Eden Camp near London.
All right, so it is basically everything you could think of there. We do swimming, we do archery, we do arts and crafts, we do rock climbing, we do high ropes. High ropes is I think I've heard is the most Wood Eden has the largest fully accessible ropes course in North America. We do everything, and the counselors are great. They always know how to help you, and they wait till you ask for help, and they're just all around good people, and they really do want to make you feel special and have the best camp experience that you can, and I'm very, very grateful for that place, and I always look forward to going back every year.
You mentioned earlier, Miles, that part of being an ambassador is sharing your story. What do you want people to learn about your story and your life as someone with cerebral palsy?
That we're just like regular kids, like we might need a little bit of help here and there, but if we have the right resources, we can thrive. If everything is accessible, then we're able to do things we want to do, even if something is slightly modified and not necessarily fully accessible, but it's modified to a point where you're able to do a certain activity, then that's even better than not being able to do it.
How did you get to be an Easter Seals ambassador? Is there a competition? Did you win? Do you get a crown? Do you wear a sash? How did that happen?
So they take applications every year. Obviously, I applied. And so, but then also, like, I had a couple friends that were involved with Easter Seals. Like, in a couple ways, my one friend was also was the 2024 Easter Seals provincial ambassador, and my other friend was a weak hair ambassador. So then I kind of learned from them what being a Easter Seals ambassador, being an ambassadder for a disability organization is like, and I said, you know what, why not? And and then I applied and wasn't sure I'd get picked because there's no way to tell. But then so I was happy I got picked, and me and my counterpart that got picked. So I was pretty happy about that, obviously. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to be able to have this opportunity to help spread awareness for a great organization that has been part of my life basically since I was born. So
you're a grade 11 student in Cambridge. Where do you go to school, Miles?
I go to school at Jacob Hespler Secondary School. The accessibility there is pretty good. We have two elevators. One is pretty good. One is an elevator, like it's a working elevator, but it's pretty small and slow. So it's a little bit annoying to use that one, but I don't use it too much, but I'll use it sometimes, because sometimes I have to go to a class where that's the only elevator I'm able to use to get to my class, because our school has this really weird, like, the floors of our school are really confusing. So for some reason we have to use certain elevators to get to certain floors. So, but I make do with it, and I haven't ran into any huge accessibility issues at school yet, which is pretty nice.
What about getting around the city of Cambridge?
There is some barriers in the community. Playing sports, they're trying to build an accessible diamond, and it's good. They're working on it, because before that there was a big gravel road where it was really hard for wheelchairs especially to get down to the field. And also there was no accessible washroom, so that meant if someone in a wheelchair needed to use the bathroom, they would have to go home and use the bathroom more than likely. So I'm glad they're working on that. Also, there's problems like in the community with people shoveling their driveways or shoveling the sidewalks, sorry, driveways and sidewalks, I guess. When I'm going on a walk in the winter, I run into issues with getting stuck in the snow because of people not shoveling. Also, something that happens not in the winter is there's a bush at the end of my street that no one trims usually, so it hits or so it gets caught on like my controller or my chair sometimes, and I'll like get stuck in it. So it's nice it's nice to be able to advocate for those issues because then people will know how to make a community better so that everyone can be accommodated for.
I understand, Miles, that you have dreams of maybe being a sportscaster someday.
Yeah, that's definitely my big dream for sure.
I do a little bit of sportscasting, you know.
Yeah.
You're not going to come and try to take my job, are you?
No, I'll try not to.
What's your favorite sport?
I really love baseball. I know it's pretty slow, but I don't know, something about the history with like all the strategy and the exciting plays and the sounds of like the bats cracking, and the announcers make it even better because their voices make it very, very exciting. And like same for hockey too, like all the announcers try and or find a way to make it really, really exciting. And that's kind of why I want to be a sports broadcaster, is because I want to be the one making it exciting for people. So yeah, that's my big dream for sure.
How can folks learn more about Easter Seals and support you as an ambassador?
There's a website people can go called easterseals.org. It'll say a short little paragraph. It'll go from like camps to accessibility equipment and what Easter Seals does. You can go to any year where it'll say the ambassador's name and their little bio that comes out every year there is a new or every time there is a new ambassador, and what their interests are and what they want to do when they grow up and why they want to be an Easter Seals provincial ambassador.
We will send people in that direction, easterseals.org. Miles, congratulations on being a provincial ambassador, and thanks very much for joining our show today.
Thank you for having me.
Miles Checkley, 16-year-old student at Jacob Hespler, is your 2026 provincial Easter Seals ambassador. So that is the first of many times I hope that you are hearing Miles's story throughout the next 12 months as he advocates for those who are not so much disabled as differently abled. He uses a power wheelchair to get around and talk about things I had never considered, obviously, because it wouldn't get my wheelchair stuck, but hedges around properties that are not trimmed back from the sidewalk and the difficulties that can pose for someone in a wheelchair. Just a small takeaway from that conversation this morning with the 2026 Provincial Easter Seals Ambassador from Cambridge. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it is your daily reminder that not everybody is a jackwagon. And just before we head into that break and that upcoming story, I don't know if you have yet heard, but the breaking news this morning, just moments ago, we have lost Chuck Norris. The legendary action hero, Chuck Norris, passes away at the age of 86. You know, of course, that Superman wears Chuck Norris pajamas, right? And that Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups. In fact, what he does is he pushes the earth down. And I went online because there are so many more of these Chuck Norris jokes, if you will. Jack was nimble. Jack was quick. but Jack still couldn't dodge Chuck Norris's roundhouse kick. In the beginning, there was nothing. Then Chuck Norris roundhouse kicked nothing and told it to get a job. When the boogeyman goes to sleep every night, he checks his closet for Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris doesn't breathe. He holds air hostage. It goes on from there. Chuck Norris, gone at the age of 86. This is the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Since our voyage of love began, your touch has thrilled me like the rush of the wind.
That is the Hughes Corporation and Rock the Boat on your All Request Friday Disco Edition. Randy, Farwell's Force member number 20, wanted to hear the Hughes Corporation and Rock the Boat on the show today. It just occurs to me, it's a good thing that we don't play the musical theme before the weekly coaches show after the 10:30 news, because I think Rangers head coach Jussi Ahokas might just hang up the phone and refuse the interview if we play some disco music before his segment begins. Can you imagine that? We were just talking about Chuck Norris and sadly passing at the age of 86, and the internet is chock full of Chuck Norris jokes, including one that says, Superman wears Chuck Norris pajamas. But I assure you that Chuck Norris wears Jussi Ahokas pajamas. You know what I'm saying when I'm saying that? It's a little after 10:20, but every morning on the show, around 10:20, at 10:20-ish, we take a moment to share with you a reminder that not everybody is a jackwagon. And this one comes courtesy of Muhammad, whose post I found online, and couldn't resist sharing this with you because it goes to show that not all roundabouts are jackwagons. Actually, I'm not sure about that. I think all roundabouts, I can't stand roundabouts. But this happened yesterday at the roundabout at Ira Needles and Victoria. A Waterloo Regional Police officer, Muhammad writes, had pulled over at the roundabout, Ira Needles and Victoria, but not for enforcement, but to help someone change a tire on the side of the road. No lights, no pressure, just genuine help. As a tow truck driver myself, Muhammad writes, I stopped to check in and offered any tools or assistance if needed, but the officer already had everything under control and was handling it perfectly. Moments like this don't always get noticed, but they matter. It's a reminder that behind the badge, there are people who genuinely care and are willing to step in when someone needs a hand. Respect to officers who go the extra mile like this. Respect to you, Muhammad, for posting this online, because we don't see a lot of positivity online, do we? And Muhammad took time out of his day to snap a couple of pictures, including one where the regional police officer is bent over on the passenger side front of a small Toyota, helping to change the front tire of the car. Not everybody is a jackwagon, including not everybody with a badge and a uniform. Every day, sometime around 10:20, we share such a story with you. If you've got a story about somebody who is not a jackwagon and you'd like to share it with us, by all means, drop me an email to mike@570news.com. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Music can mean only two things. One, the Kitchener Rangers have just scored a goal because that is the team's goal song. The other is that it's Friday morning. It's just after the 10:30 a.m. news, and it is time for the weekly coaches show as we are joined by Rangers head coach Jussi Ahokas. Mr. Ahokas, good morning.
Good morning.
You reached 100 points on the season on Tuesday night with your win over Flint for the second time in 2 seasons, back-to-back seasons you've done it. Why is that an important milestone?
No, I don't think a milestone, but it tells we've had good teams, good players. We've implemented a good culture, identity to our team, and we've had that how in regular season we've had good success. And, the boys are committed, and all in all, the whole organization and staff is committed to getting better every day.
I remember a conversation we had back around the midpoint of the season, and you were not on pace to get to 100 points. But you said to me, and you seemed pretty confident that you would get there. What is it about this team that gave you that confidence?
Of course, the boys played the whole season well, but of course, good additions. What we had, it made us a different team. Getting Ando back, all the guys who we got in, and after that, it's a really tight group of guys, and that's I think when you have a tight group that gives us the chance to succeed and do well. And I think those are the most important teams in the team environment. That when the group is really connected and close, then you have a chance to play well. And during regular season, the boys have done it.
Those back-to-back 100-point seasons, you see, have never been done before in the history of the Kitchener Rangers franchise. You've been here for 3 seasons, and 2 of those seasons are 100-point seasons. Did you take a moment just to celebrate that?
No, I celebrate. I want to celebrate after the season. After the playoffs, I want to do well there. That's everything. Regular season is always getting ready for playoffs and getting us in the best spot possible, and just to be ready. And then playoffs, it's always the spring that divides: do we have a good season or not? And that's how I think of hockey.
Clinching first place on Tuesday night gives you home ice throughout the Western Conference playoffs as long as you're there. How important is it to have home ice in the playoffs?
I think it's huge. It's a big difference, especially for our team and for us playing for our fans. We have that. It's the 6th player, and just odd all in all, for us to play here and with our support, it's important. That's why we really wanted to get that first place, because even last year, even though we got 100, we got only 1 because we didn't win our division. We didn't get only one round of home advantage. So now this year, at least now we could start with two games at home.
How do you approach a weekend like this, Jussi, where the standings aren't going to change? So I know you don't want to have any injuries, but you also don't want guys to get out of the rhythm of playing games and the importance of details. How do you approach these final 2 games of the regular season?
Well, I think still we have to play a second like Ottawa can get to us, can get past us from the Eastern point wise. So to be number 2 is to be number 2 in the whole league. So that gives you that's one thing. And then all in all, we need to still playoff starts from week from now. So all the players have to play still today and be ready for it. So it's just playing with good habits and good details, and then we might see do we bring in some of our young talent tomorrow. But let's see. Let's play this game first, and we'll see after that.
What can the fans expect from your team on this final regular season home game?
we want to be good at home always. So it's just a normal game for us. We want to do well. We want to play our style of hockey, and we want to get the job done. Like I say, 2 points and have a good game.
As we head into the final weekend of the season, you still don't know who your first-round opponent is going to be. Let playoffs start 1 week from today. Does that matter to you at all?
No. For me, like, you have to win them all if you want to go far. So it's just, I guess after today or tomorrow we'll know, and then we get ready, whoever it is. And like I said, you have to win everyone if you want to go. So I'm not really big on looking at, like, who do we want to get in the first round or whatever. Like, it's 0-7 Guelph or Saginaw, and we know it's one of them, and if you want to go further, you have to beat them. So that's just how I feel.
Congratulations on back-to-back 100-point seasons, UC, and clinching first place, and we'll see you at the rink tonight.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
UC Ahokas is the head coach of your Kitchener Rangers, joins us every Friday morning just after the 10:30 news for the Coaches Show. I'm very sorry for the beginning of that conversation. I was very discombobulated for a moment. I realized too late that during that news update with Matt Hutchison, you did not get to see Matt. You got to see me sitting in the studio eating some food. And I got pictures from people. I was not supposed to be on camera. I don't mean to eat in front of you. I would have left had I known. I didn't pay attention to the camera because it wasn't supposed to be on me. I also think about the radio side of the show far more than the TV side because it's a radio show. They just have TV cameras in here. But I did not know the camera was on as I filled my gullet. And I take big bites because I got to eat in a short amount of time. And I'm feeling very embarrassed by all of that just happened. You were not supposed to see it. And I'm very sorry that you did. And I'm equally sorry that I then started that conversation with Rangers head coach UC Ahokas on a distracted foot. I still can't get over. Don't send me any more pictures, please. I don't want to see me eating my hard-boiled eggs, okay? It's not something anybody has to watch, and you should not have had to watch it, and I'm sorry. Standings, you heard. I'm so embarrassed. You heard UC Ahokas mention it could be Guelph, it could be Owen Sound, it could be Saginaw. And those are the three teams that are still up in the air as we head into the final weekend of the regular season. Saginaw and Guelph tied with 59 points. Owen Sound has 61 points. So Owen Sound in sixth. Guelph has more regulation wins, so they have the 7th spot, and Saginaw has the 8th spot. So as of today, the Rangers would face Saginaw, but we're going to have to play this out. Guelph and Owen Sound have to play each other. That's going to be a big game. And, of course, then we play Owen Sound tomorrow night. I won't even go down the games remaining, like the teams they're going to play and all these different things. We're just going to stay with us, okay, on your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey, and we're going to keep you updated because we're not going to know till Saturday night. So it's going to be either Saginaw, Guelph, or Owen Sound in the first round. It is as simple as that. A couple of games in the Ontario Hockey League last night. How about those North Bay Battalion? A 7-0 shutout of the Brampton Steelheads. And the Peterborough Petes, did the Petes need this one? And they got it, and they beat a whale of a team in doing it. 5-4 Peterborough over Barrie. So I say the Petes really needed that one because in the Eastern Conference standings, Peterborough leads North Bay by 2 points for 4th place and home ice in the first round of the playoffs. And North Bay had won their game earlier in the day, so the Petes, going to overtime, knew they needed both of those points. They got them. So it's a tight race in the East. We know the Rangers have wrapped up first in the West. 8 games in the Ontario Hockey League tonight. Big one down the road in London with the Windsor Spitfires playing the Knights. And the Guelph Storm will host the Owen Sound Attack at the Sleeman Center. That's the big one. If the Owen Sound Attack win that game, that will take them out of the conversation for a first-round playoff opponent. But if the Storm win it, again, I'm not going down that path too far. We will have our eyes on that one. Saginaw playing up in the Sioux tonight. And, of course, that will also help to determine who the Kitchener Rangers will face in the first round. So we will keep you up to date on those other 7 games on our out-of-town scoreboard tonight when Josh Piercy and I are broadcasting from the Memorial Auditorium for you. As we head into the final weekend of the season, so you're telling me there's a chance. Jack Pridham, 1 goal behind Merrick Van Acker of the Brantford Bulldogs for the OHL goal-scoring lead. Pridham has 45. Van Acker has 46. Christian Humphreys, he's fallen a little bit further behind in the assist category. Humphreys with 57. That's 5th in the league. Brantford's Jake O'Brien leads with 63. So that's a lot of assists for Humphreys to make up. 6 he's behind right now. But Pridham only 1 goal behind. And then in the scoring race, Nikita Klepov of the Saginaw Spirit starting to run away with things a little bit. He's got 94 points to lead the league. But you've got Jack Pridham in there with 89 points. You've got Dylan Edwards in there with 85 and Christian Humphreys of your Kitchener Rangers with 84. Still 3 Rangers in top 10 league scoring. And I think it's worth reminding you that never have we ever seen a season finish with 3 Rangers in the top 10 of league scoring. So we'll see if they can stay there. Humphreys, Edwards, and Pridham all in the top 10 right now. And there's a chance that Jack Pridham catches Merrick Van Acker for the OHL goal-scoring title this season. It's the Rangers and the Sarnia Sting tonight right here on your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey. Josh Piercy and I will get things started with the Harris Law pregame show at 6:30. We'll bring you all of the action between the Rangers and the Sting. And then JP and I stay around after every home game, take your calls, talk some hockey with you. Who doesn't love to do that? So you'll get it all starting at 6:30 right here on your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey. That's your Rangers. In Cambridge, the RedHawks are celebrating a first-round sweep of their opening series against the Caledonia Corvairs in the GOHL playoffs. We'll check in on those RedHawks next on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Started to climb together. Looking up, I said, hey, look, maybe I could see you tonight. And she said, never. Well, thought I was out of luck. 10 seconds later, somehow we got stuck in that elevator. Heaven on the 7th floor. Heaven on the 7th floor.
A little bit of Paul Nicholas and Heaven on the 7th floor for Andrea on your all-request Friday disco edition. You choose the disco tune, and we play it for you on this all-request Friday. We just talked to Rangers head coach Jussi Ahokas as the Kitchener Rangers head into their final regular season home game tonight. Playoffs for the Rangers open in 1 week's time. The playoffs are already underway in the GOHL. And the Cambridge RedHawks are already through to the second round, thanks to a 5-0 win last night and a 4-game first-round sweep of Caledonia. Eric Boissonneau is the VP and Director of Operations with the RedHawks. Joins us to talk about it. Eric, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm just great, but come on, a first-round sweep. How are you?
What a morning. What a week. Very pleased with the boys and how this all went. I mean, Caledonia is a strong team, and we didn't know what we were going to get. But for our defense to show up the way they did and limit that offense, it was amazing.
It really was, and it just continued with what you saw from your RedHawks all season long, didn't it, Eric? You have 45 wins on the season, which ties a GOHL record, coincidentally set by the Caledonia Corvairs. So 45 wins, and you just keep marching on right through the playoffs.
Yeah, you know what? Again, it's been the same message all through the year. Todd Bertuzzi, the head coach, and Nick Spaulding, and Mike Rusk have kept the message the same all through. High-flying offense, shut down the defense, help your goalie, and you're going to win games, and it showed.
What would you attribute the success that you've had all season long here in Cambridge, Eric?
The message is the same. That change room we've got, the way the boys get together, the motivation they give each other, the way they play for Cambridge and our fans. Like we've got, we share a lot of our fans with you, with the Rangers, and we've got the best fans in hockey. So to pack Galt Arena and then to pack the Odd, and it's just unreal. So the players will play for that.
I know that fans in Kitchener are quite excited by this kid, Alex Forrest, who we got a glimpse of again the other week before he came back and started participating in playoff games with you guys, obviously, but leading the GOHL in points by a defenseman. Just a little bit on him, Eric, what you've seen from Alex Forrest.
Well, I mean, the way he skates, he just, it's effortless. If I could have done that as a kid, but he is unreal. His eyes are up the entire time. The puck just finds him. And, just maybe a small rumor out there that you might get to see him at the Odd tomorrow night, too.
We've got our fingers crossed. UC Ahokas alluded to the fact that we might get to see some of our young talent because after tonight's game, we might have things sorted out for our playoffs and whatnot, but it remains to be seen. And speaking of that, what's the relationship like? Obviously, we've had players there. You had Caden Schneider there last year, now up with our club. Frosty's there right now. He's back and forth. What's the relationship like between the RedHawks and the Rangers?
Unreal. My director of hockey ops, Todd Hoffman, and Mike McKenzie, they talk almost every 3 days about player development, about how the Rangers would like us to treat their players, what they'd like to see out of them, the ice time. Even like tomorrow night, if Alex is going to go up, it's a conversation, not a demand. It's been absolutely unreal. The community here, lucky to have the two teams, and the two teams work together like that because the players get to play both. Develop with us maybe one more year, like Schneider, like Cameron, and then move up, and you get great players in the Rangers lineup.
Yeah, Weston Cameron has made a heck of an impact this year as well, and it's his NHL draft year to boot. Speaking of the community, what's the relationship like, Eric, between these RedHawks and the city of Cambridge after a record-setting season and an exciting start to the playoffs?
I'm not one. I don't like going out in public and shopping malls and stuff. But when you have a season like this, it's amazing. I wear my RedHawks jacket with pride, and people just walk up to you and say, great season. We're watching. We'll be there Saturday, and so on. So the community, even in our playoff games, on a Tuesday night where we don't expect as many fans, we had 900 fans on a Tuesday night to watch a playoff game. The community is amazing. The local businesses are amazing. The local radio station, right, Mike? It's just been amazing to get that kind of support from everyone around us.
Well, we're super impressed by what you're doing. You play in one of the prettiest barns in the entire country at the Galt Arena. It is. It's gorgeous. Any idea who yet you're facing in the next round?
No, we have to wait till all the series are over because we clinched the Commissioner's Cup this year, so first overall in the league. So we'll always get the lowest seeded opponent. So we have to wait in case there's an upset or surprises. So now I'm just watching the other games in the league. There's a whole bunch tonight, too, so we may even know at the end of tonight.
Well, we know that the RedHawks will be ready when that next opponent is determined. Eric, congratulations on the success. We know it's going to continue. We're behind you all the way, and thanks for joining the show.
Thanks, Mike. Can I just tell our fans out there, too, if they want to meet the RedHawks, we're having a little come meet the players at the Mule downtown Galt on Monday at 5:30. So if people want autographs or they just want to come talk and see what makes the players tick, we're opening it up to the public just to come say hi.
Love that idea. So it's 5:30 on Monday at the Mule?
The Mule, yeah. It's right downtown Galt. It's almost like 5 minutes from Galt Arena, so why not do it there?
Beautiful.
And they're great local supporters. So come meet your RedHawks. Bring sticks, jerseys. We'll have mini sticks for sale there that people can get signed, stuff like that, just to meet the team.
Great idea. Keep invested in that community and give something back to the fans. And again, continued success the rest of the way, Eric. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Mike, and thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. Eric Boissonneau, VP and Director of Operations with the Cambridge RedHawks. They sweep the Caledonia Corvairs in round number 1, outscoring them 18-4. A second-round opponent yet to be determined. This is the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Some Alicia Bridges and I Love the Nightlife. By request from Donna, Farwell's Force member number 2 on this All Request Friday, Disco Edition. Fridays also mean our Friday 4 Roundtable, a discussion of the week's big stories, and our guests this week to help us sort through those stories. Philip Mills, CEO of Habitat for Humanity, Waterloo Region. Phil, good morning.
Morning, Mike. Twice in 1 week. That's awfully kind of you to be stuck with me for that long.
I was thinking the same thing. The more Phil, the better, I always say on this show. So good to see you again. Sam Nabby is with us as well, project coordinator with 1 Million Neighbors. Good morning, Sam.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you again. And Dave Jaworski, we have pulled him off the pickleball court and back onto our Friday 4 Roundtable, the former mayor of Waterloo, of course, as well. Mr. Jaworski, good morning.
Thank you very much, Mike. I'm just going to enjoy my hard-boiled egg right now.
You are a scoundrel, Jaworski. I'm telling you, I was so embarrassed. That was not... Nobody needs to watch me eat hard-boiled eggs on television, Dave. That camera was not supposed to be on me. I left during the 11 a.m. news and went to the kitchen to finish my little breakfast, just in case the camera stayed on. Nobody needed to see that. I'm so embarrassed. So I'm going to end that. You had to bring it up, Dave. You had to bring it up. That's why you're going last on the first topic, too. Let's start into it. We've been hearing throughout our updates on 570 News Radio this morning, the charges have been laid, the bylaw offenses issued by the city of Waterloo following the St. Paddy's Day party last week. But we are focusing on the Overwatch, the sniper up on the balcony with the high-powered rifle and scope. Phil, I'll start with you on this. What do you make of that level of protection, safety, security, surveillance by a tactical officer at St. Paddy's Day?
I don't know if it's like, I feel like I'm maybe in the minority here. Like, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. Like, I don't kind of get some of the concern. Like, we were talking about, like, I don't know how many come out these days, but I do recall this was thousands of people as we talk about these events and these unsanctioned things. Like, we're going to have thousands of people for the, essentially the purposes of we're all going to get together and drink and have a big party. And there's not organized, it's not controlled, it's not contained. Like, I think the city and the police have done a lot to try and make this as safe as possible for an unorganized sort of activity. The idea of, in this day and age, saying, yeah, we aren't sure what's going to happen. We don't know who's coming. We don't know the motives of all of these people, especially when you start adding in, the capacity and the opportunity for something really tragic. So we're going to be over-prepared. The idea of like, hey, we hope that nothing, and that the police's presence is seen as fearful is an interesting sort of pivot on this to say like, hey, the police are here to make sure everything's safe. And they're like, well, I actually don't feel safe having the police around is an odd pivot, because more often than not, that is the type of thing. Why don't we have more policing? Why aren't the police more involved? Why is there not more happening? And then they do, and it's like, well, why did you do all of this? It just seems like a bit of a, kind of can't get it right sort of situation from some of our commentary.
One of the things that really struck me in learning more about this is the level of detail that goes into the operational plan to oversee the party and all of the moving parts within that, the skills and expertise called upon, then, of course, the costs, which we've documented over time. But, Sam, I'll swing it over to you and thoughts on that sniper that we saw overlooking that party.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw those videos and photos circulating initially, it was shocking. I think it was something that people didn't think about and didn't assume was something that was part of the police response to something like St. Patty's Day. I know we talk a lot about preparing for it, and the police and the municipalities do different things every year to try to control or dissuade people. The big question that's still lingering for me is this new? Is this standard practice? It seems to be part of the statements from the police say that this is part of their preparation, and the risk of something happening at a large scale event like this, like Philip said, when there's no organizer to be responsible, there's no safety plan. I get that we have to have some protocols in place, but was this something that we've always been doing? Was this present at Canada Day and Victoria Day last year when we had youth running around firing off fireworks? Is this something that is new, or is this something that has always been part of the response and we're just learning about now? That's my main question.
Yeah, and I think new-ish is my sense from what we've heard so far. I would not be surprised if these sorts of Overwatch surveillance officers have been a part of Remembrance Day, the Oktoberfest parade, I would venture to guess as well. Dave Jaworski, your thoughts on what we saw in the city you used to be mayor of last week?
It's everything's evolving, Mike, and I do remember the time on Ezra Ave, so I'm dating back to probably about 2018, so you're pushing 8 years now, where we actually put dump trucks at the end of Ezra Ave. And it wasn't to block, it certainly did the trick in terms of blocking traffic from going on Ezra Ave, but it was also to ensure there was no driver going down there with some horrendous thoughts in their mind. And because it had happened in other places. During COVID, during rallies, we'd make sure things were safe by parking dump trucks at the ends of roads so they were completely blocked off. City of Kitchener's used those Jersey barriers as well. And when you have like Remembrance Day ceremonies and that, you can see the police. If you look up in the parkade or different areas, you see they're far away. They have binoculars on, and it's just completely ever evolving. They've always had a great watchful eye from a distance, and it's unfortunate that this is what it's come to, but certainly a handgun that has a range of like 10 yards or so in terms of accuracy. So in terms of what they need to do, I guess this is what the police need to do to be best prepared. So I support the police in what they do, but a great question from Sam. How long has it been going on? I don't know.
One of the things that I've had a difficult time grappling with is that this might just be reflective of where we're at in terms of communities these days. And we don't have to look too far back to, a terrible incident at a Christmas market in Germany, an outdoor festival in Vancouver, the Lapu Lapu Festival, where awful things occurred. And this is, I guess, a response to that. But Phil, how do you feel about, kind of what this is telling us about where we may well be at?
Well, I think there's two things that it's telling us. And one of them is, like you said, I think it does speak to the state of the world in some ways, the way that we understand and the fact that these are things that seem to be happening. Some of that might be that we're a little more connected than we should be, that like what have been terrible events over the course of history and how many of those would have been in our face in the way they are now with social media and all those things, like, what feels more, local might not be that case. I also think some of this is just the reality of we're a bigger place than we tell ourselves. Mm-hmm. Like we're like the 10th biggest metropolitan place in the country. And the idea of like, well, something back, yeah, big cities have different problems than like little cities, and big city centers have different problems than little cities. And so to a certain extent, sometimes I think some of our, feelings on this are like, well, we're like a small rural town. No, we're not. We're one of the biggest, metropolitan areas in the country. So, would we think it's weird if Toronto or Vancouver or somewhere else had a mass unsanctioned event and the police were really present? Probably not. But we think it's odd for us because I don't think we see ourselves as a big city. We see ourselves as this small rural place. And I just isn't the reality of who we are anymore. And that isn't a bad thing, but I think we have to reconcile we aren't who we used to be. And that's neither good nor bad. It just is.
Philip Mills, Sam Nabby, and Dave Jaworski are with us on the Friday 4 Roundtable this morning. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, a regional councillor said a word that 20 years ago we ought not say in these here parts. He used the word pipeline. What do our guests think about the prospects of a water pipeline from the region of Waterloo to Lake Erie? We'll talk about it as we continue our Friday 4 Roundtable this morning on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
So let's dance, let's dance, let's dance, let's dance, let's dance, let's dance tonight. Let's dance for love. Yes, it's my last dance for romance tonight. Oh, I need you by me, beside me, to guide me.
It is Donna Summer's last dance for Grant on this All Request Friday Disco edition. As our Friday 4 Roundtable gathers to discuss the week's big stories, Sam Nabby, Dave Jaworski, Philip Mills with us around the virtual table this morning. Sam, we'll give you first crack at this one. It just works out that way, and it's a good thing because you are also very involved with Hold the Line Waterloo region, protecting that precious countryside line, growing sustainably. And it seems as though we're having trouble in that department. And the issue or the idea of a pipeline was raised at a regional council meeting. I remember a time that was verboten stuff, but there it was laid out for all to hear. What do you think, Sam, of the idea? Is it time for us to start working on a water pipeline to Lake Erie, given the state our water system is in?
I'll give you a short answer, which is no. But to expand on that, the pipeline is a last resort. A pipeline is a project that would be decades in the making and wouldn't help us solve our constraints with development or solve our water crisis right now. I think there are 4 or 5 different things that need to be fixed with our water infrastructure and that are currently being worked on. Chief among them, this idea of the integrated urban system. So we're still wrestling with what happened with this idea that we thought our systems in Cambridge and Kitchener and Waterloo were all connected. If we can get that right and fix the sanitation, the disinfection capabilities between the two systems and actually flow water between all these different areas of our region, that's going to unlock a lot of the supply that we need. So I would say a pipeline is definitely a long game. It's maybe even not worth pursuing because of the lack of First Nations support. This is something that's probably going to have to go through 6 nations of the Grand River, and have those conversations even begun? I don't think so.
Dave, let's bring it over to you. You would have been sitting around that regional council horseshoe at a time where we might have whispered the word, but I don't think said it out loud. But what do you make of the idea of a pipeline being on the table?
Well, back in 2016 or 2017, I was on the sewage planning committee. Now, it had a better name than that, but I can't recall it right now. But it was on the sewage side of things. And I did ask that question. It came up about the water pipeline, the supply. And I was told at the time that our planning time frame that we're looking at is to 2050. And Dave, it's way beyond that. We will probably never need a pipeline. So, the way things have happened here in terms of what information that we're getting in terms of the water shortage and that, I think that we need to see what the experts are going to say in terms of what has happened, what is happening, and what are the short-term things, because we're going to be getting to people like Phil here next, who they want to build homes for people, and that's important. I kind of feel like I'm on a council meeting here because I have my expert planner. That's where Sam and I first met at City of Waterloo. He's planning, and Phil's my constituent expert that I need to listen to, and then an intermediary here, 570. So it's like the old days for me. But I think that what we really need to do is hear what the experts have to say, get some quick wins with wells, and to go from there. But I don't think a pipeline is in the cards. And I think what we've seen, I tried to Google it last night, what cities have water pipelines, and I just couldn't get a good hit because I kept on finding all the pipes that are underneath, but the cities, but not to a lake or anything like that. Most cities are on a lake.
I kind of miss those days that you're referring to, Dave, where we would be media, and I was among them as a reporter in the past at that table at those council meetings and following along and gathering information, getting interviews, etc. Phil, you do, as the CEO of Habitat for Humanity Waterloo Region, want to see homes built. We know we're having some freezes, pauses put on development now, but what do you make of the idea of a pipeline being floated regionally?
So I am not like an expert on how we go about getting the water. And so like there's a bit of, trepidation on this. I guess my sense is whether it's a good idea or not, I really don't think now's the time to talk about it. There's a part of me that would say we have a very immediate problem that this pipeline absolutely does not fix, realizing we have limited resources. We only have so much money. We only have so many people. We only have so much expertise. I don't really want anybody's time going towards something like that is perhaps a really good future solution or a terrible one to sort out in the future. Because what I would want is everybody's attention on the right now. How do we get things sorted where we are right now? And once we have a plan for the next year, two, whatever our kind of outlay on that is, absolutely, let's talk about how we sustainably create water opportunities for the coming years. But everything I've read says this would be a long-term out plan. So I would say, let's not spend time and energy on this, because what I need is all of that expertise, all of that energy, all of the people who can make a solution come to fruition focused on that right now, not that and the future and this. And I need the now sorted so we can then figure out the what it could be later once we have freezes off and we can start looking at how do we do this and do this appropriately and safely and with all of the right sort of guardrails in place. We need that expertise focused elsewhere. So I would be frustrated if that's where our energy went, if that's where our money went, if that's where our time went, when we have an immediate crisis that needs to be sorted, and I wish people's energy was there.
Sam, you touched on the immediacy of this crisis and some of the things that we can do, particularly that method of treating the water in both Cambridge and then further up in the system, because they don't correlate at all. So we'd get that foul odor if we were to sort of mix the two systems. It seems like an easy win. But to come back to what Phil was saying and to what Dave alluded to as well, we do have a problem right now. But you touched on the First Nations communities that would have to be consulted. I mean, even if we started work on a pipeline, it's 15 to 20 years down the road before we could even consider or conceive of it being finished. And by that time, we might be 900,000 to 1 million people as opposed to 700,000 now. So do we not try to kind of walk and chew gum at the same time here, work on the immediate problem and start planning for what we may need down the road? Or are you confident that we may never need it?
I think there's a real conversation to be had about what is our capacity as Waterloo Region to sustain a certain number of population. And I know that previous reports had come out in the last time that the region did a water master plan saying that we could have about 1 million residents with the current water capacity that we have in our groundwater. Of course, those calculations might have changed. That calculation changes if we do a large industrial site that's taking a lot of water in our recharge areas. I think we need to decide: are we going to be a community that keeps growing and growing forever, or is there a natural limit at, say, 1 million people where we know we can handle our watershed, we can handle our groundwater recharge, and we're living within our means here? If we decide to explore this pipeline to Lake Erie, that opens up a whole other set of questions about all the communities along the line. Does Brantford want to grow more? Does Paris want to grow more? Does Hamilton want to get in on that a little bit? I think it wouldn't just be about us. It would be about the entire Southwestern Ontario region at that point.
Sam Nabby, Dave Jaworski, and Philip Mills are with us on the Friday 4 Roundtable. this morning. We're going to get you an update from the 570 News Center, and then we're going to talk about Ontario Premier Doug Ford. Look, the guy's had himself a week, let's be honest. Now, I chose one, so I'll just let our guests know now. If you want to call an audible and pick one of the others, it's up to you. I feel like I was, leading the witness here, but we're going to talk maybe about BYOB rules expanding in Ontario. But the Premier also said, hey, let's legalize pepper spray. The Premier also said, hey, we should shoot people frequently when they enter our homes. And oh, yeah, by the way, we should also drive in HOV lanes if we're in vehicles by ourselves at certain hours of the day. So, again, I chose the BYOB rules, and we can go in that direction. But if either Sam or Dave or Phil would like to call an audible and say, I'm taking this from the full court press by the Premier this past week, it's all on the table because Doug Ford has had himself a week, and we'll talk about it as we continue the roundtable on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. A little bit of Frank Zappa and Disco Boy for Mark on this All Request Friday Disco edition. Fridays also mean our Friday 4 Roundtable, and with us round the virtual table today we have Dave Jaworski, who's the former mayor of Waterloo, of course, and now is a dedicated pickleball player. I'm not sure about his pickleball prowess, but he plays an awful lot. It's so-so. It says Dave. Sam Nabby is with us as well, project coordinator, 1 Million Neighbors, and Philip Mills, CEO at Habitat for Humanity, Waterloo Region. Dave, let's start with you on the week it was for Ontario Premier Doug Ford, including an expansion of BYOB rules at select events this coming summer. That's the one I chose. If you want to call an audible, by all means. He's kind of spraying the zone this week. But what do you make of the week that it was for Ontario Premier Doug Ford?
Well, had I known you were going to let us choose whatever, I would have went with the freedom of information.
There's another one. There you go. You mean the lack of freedom of information?
Yeah, the original, which is a hallmark of what we expect from our governments is access to that information. But it's been covered up by a lot of other announcements, as you've mentioned. I will go with the BYOB one, which doesn't make a lot of sense. I know when a term ago they started allowing municipalities to permit alcohol in parks. And I think I was on probably either your show or maybe Brian Burke's show at the time talking about it. And I said, with St. Patrick's Day and Ezra Ave at the time, I said, the last thing I need is people drinking in the parks with our permission at any given time. And so that'll be the last thing I'd need. So I put that on the back burner, and I'm sure this one will too, because now at an event, you're gonna go to the park and go to an event and have a 6-pack under your arm and sit down. Like, it just doesn't seem sensible to me, particularly when, if you go to U.S. cities, you see people walking around with a beer, but they have it in a paper bag in many states, and that's allowed, and that's still not allowed here. And I'm not saying that we need that or anything like that, but certainly from bring your own booze to an event, who's responsible? Where's the insurance coverage will go through the roof. I can only imagine bad things. I can't really think of anything that's a good thing that's going to happen from this. So I'll leave it there, Mike.
All right. I'll swing it over to Philip Mills then for thoughts.
I guess I disagree with former mayor here. Like, I think it's a good idea because I think the type of person who's going to cause a problem, the fact that it's not allowed is generally not a thing that's going to stop them from causing a problem. Like, if you're like, hey, you're not allowed to have this here, I'm assuming that person for whom this was going to be because they wanted to overindulge and create problems, they're bringing it anyway. They're not like, well, the rules say I can't, but now that I can, I'm going to come. Like, I think this is far more of these are the opportunity for folks who are reasonable and responsible, who are like, well, we're not allowed to. You're like, yeah, it's not that bad. You can have a beer or a glass of wine, you have a park or whatever, like that sort of space to say, like, this is, especially in these things, like there is access in some of these events that they're talking about. It's not as though there isn't necessarily licensing or other places. It's just you could bring your own as opposed to buying it. I don't think that that's creating a lot more risk than was already there, because I think there are, like, you don't have to look that hard to see folks hanging out in parks and other places who have been responsibly enjoying, if they're, having a little glass of wine or what, like that sort of, so to me, I don't think it's that bad to take some of that stuff off, assuming it's paired with the right sort of, responsible guidance. You have to have somebody there paying attention. But these events have somebody there paying attention. If you're selling alcohol or alcohol is available, there is some sort of security and other things making sure. So, like, if somebody gets rowdy and somebody starts to act inappropriately, that needs to be addressed. But I don't think because of that person, others shouldn't be able to responsibly and enjoy what is something that we have given a lot of license to over the years, to say, yeah, if you're an adult and use this responsibly, you're welcome to do so.
I don't know what the statute of limitations is on such things, but I feel compelled to let you know, Mayor Dave, that my beloved and I enjoyed some time at the refurbished Silver Lake last summer. And I know that started on your watch, Dave. And I will not tell a lie. I told her, we're bringing some food. You put a cold can in there for me. She would never do such a thing. But me, the scofflaw that I am and who enjoys his beer, I did have a can of beer. I cleaned up after myself and everything was fine.
Well, that's a good lesson there, Mike. As long as you behave yourself, nothing bad happens.
Okay. And again, if there's a statute of limitations, I'm going to pretend I never said that. Sam, your thoughts on loosening alcohol rules in the province?
Yeah, I would say I'm more aligned with Philip on this one. It's this is speaks to culture, and this speaks to how we can enjoy a bottle of wine with a picnic, or a beer when we're at an outdoor movie. I think we definitely don't want to see these types of things get out of hand, but the proposed expansion of the licensing is really incremental, in my opinion. Right now, the province allows it for sports games, and this is something that organizers have to opt into a permit for, right? It's not just anyone can go out and do this. So we know that there's been some good success with places like the Gaslight District in Cambridge hosting Buffalo Bills on the big screen and inviting people to bring a case of beer and bring a chair and an umbrella and have a good time. We really don't have the tailgating culture that they do in the US. And so I think we have to figure out what this looks like for us in Canada. But anyone who's been to Montreal or places in Europe and has enjoyed a bottle of wine in the park with some friends over a picnic, I understands how this could be a good quality of life improvement. And when we talk about getting into the summer season and not only festivals and having this as another option for festival organizers, but people who want to go outside and see their friends, if it's on a restaurant patio, that's one thing, but that could be cost prohibitive for someone who can only afford buying something from the LCBO and enjoying it at the park. So I do see this as a gradual opening. I don't think it's going to be wildly different than what we've seen in behavior before. But again, maybe a distraction from some of the other news coming out this week from the premier, especially about this freedom of information, which I agree, Dave, this is the more the one that we should be focusing on more.
Yeah, and I think, Dave, you put us on the right path by reminding us of that, because nothing like a little Trumpian distraction to get people away from the shiny object, right?
Yeah, I always think it's funny, Mike, that on Friday the 13th, Port Dover, which is more my age cohort than a younger age cohort, that all goes smoothly. Yet we have a St. Patrick's Day and everything goes crazy here. So it's I think it's just I can appreciate what Phil and Sam have to say. I just, as a former elected official, it just makes me nervous.
And that's understandable. Absolutely understandable. Dave Jaworski, that former... Sorry, Sam, did you point at me? Did you?
If I could just
of course
make one more point about that, like the St. Patrick's Day compared to something like Port Dover, one of the things that I would love to see is instead of putting all of our expectations on the police for the security of that event, I would love to see places like the Students' Union Emergency Response Team, or even organizations like Waterloo Region React, which is a volunteer organization that does first aid and crowd control and this kind of stuff. The community needs to take responsibility in protecting each other on this too.
Some excellent points. And I would love to see us probably embrace this St. Paddy's Day party and maybe make Waterloo a St. Paddy's Day destination. As a former elected official, Dave's probably thinking, oh my gosh, Farwell, you've gone completely off the rails now. Dave Jaworski, Sam Nabby, Philip Mills with us on the Friday 4 Roundtable this morning. We'll take a final break and come back and talk about this place where we live, not locally or even provincially, but nationally. And on the happiness index, oh, woe is us. Canada is way down compared to where it started on the list and compared to where it was 10 years ago on the list. What do we do to make Canada a happier place? We'll get some suggestions coming up with our Friday 4 Roundtable on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. The one and only Kiss makes its appearance on our All Request Friday Disco Edition. Russell wanted to hear a little bit of I Was Made for Lovin' You, and so he gets his request played. That's what we do, All Request Friday, this week playing your favorite disco tunes. Fridays also mean our Friday 4 Roundtable. One more topic. We do 4 topics with 3 guests, plus the host making for 4 of us here on our Friday 4, Philip Mills, Sam Nabby, and Dave Jaworski, our guests. The annual happiness index is out, Mr. Mills, and it says that Canada is now down to 25th place in world happiness rankings. It's the lowest position we've been in since this index was launched in 2012. In 2015, we peaked at 5th, but we've seen a steady decline since. What are we going to do to become a happier place, Phil?
So there's like a couple of really obvious things to me that I think get in the way of this. I think we talk about whether it be like affordability, like stress does not create happy people. So like, how do we address affordability? Because I think the stress of what does it mean for, gas prices that might be going up recently, or the cost of food, or in my world, the cost of housing, like all those things I think really get at this. And the places that seem to do well on happiness, there is an affordability there. I also do think, and this is just, sometimes this is just crotchety old manning coming out, and social media is the worst. And I think we just need less of it. And I think if there was ways to be smart about that, whether that is, rules around ages and who can access that, but everything everywhere says social media makes you more upset. It makes you sad. It makes you feel worse every time you go onto it. People feel worse when they're done. And so how do we, the more we're glued to our phones, the more we are isolated from the people around us, the more we don't know our neighbor because we're looking at all of that stuff, I think are the things that are conspiring to this, a world that isn't affordable, a world that is difficult, and a detachment from the people around us because our screens rip us from that community. Those are the things that are really destroying our feeling about this, because you just hear, algorithms are fed by anger. If all you hear is how terrible Canada is all the time because your algorithm feeds you anger, yeah, that's going to make you feel unhappy and sad. I think that's the stuff that's really getting at this, is this conspiring of cost and algorithms designed to make us mad.
I'm glad that somebody else on the panel described themselves as the crotchety old man, because that's usually the exclusive domain of the host of the show. And I'm glad you said social media and not talk radio for fueling all of that outrage, Phil. Sam, your thoughts on what we can do to get happier in this country?
Yeah, well, a lot of the coverage of this so far has talked about the fact that our score is being dragged down by youth unhappiness in particular, and points to some of the impacts of social media on that. I know last time I was on the panel a month ago, we also talked about social media and youth, and I'll make the same point I did then, which is I agree it's terrible. I agree that that these companies are designing their algorithms not for our benefit, but also it's not just affecting youth poorly. It's affecting all of us, and we're all getting swept up in this. I put parental controls on myself for my apps so that I can try to have some sense of normalcy with my relationship with social media. But I was curious to look at the countries that are at the top of the list. If we look at the ones that are doing best, Finland is at the top. Interesting thing about Finland, they've had a really successful housing first model for eliminating homelessness. They've really committed a lot of public support and public money to getting their people housed. And once someone has housing, they have stability, and then you can work on supports for addictions and mental health. So I know that that's also a model we espouse here in Waterloo Region. Maybe we need to accelerate that to meet our backlog of people who are looking for shelter and who are housing insecure. It's really material conditions, I think, more so than the social media only that's causing all of this. Another piece about the countries at the very top of the list is that they don't have a lot of wealth inequality. So when we live in a country where there's been a really hard time trying to get any motion on stuff like increasing the inclusion rate on capital gains tax and a wealth tax, or some of these conversations are not happening and are not being not being considered by the major political parties. So there was a statistic I read last week that in Canada, the top 1% of wealthy people make as much money as the bottom 80%. So we have our own inequality to deal with, and for a lot of us, it comes back to that affordability. It's really hard to have a happy life when you're stressed about money.
I had a lengthy conversation with my best buddy last night about that very thing, Sam, wealth inequality. I affectionately refer to him as a communist, and it's just for fun but we found so many things that we agreed on in talking about the wealth inequality, the wealth taxes on the wealthy, et cetera. So perhaps I'm as much a communist as he is in that regard. And I'm glad you did the deeper dive on the countries at the top of the list, because I know a certain Finn who happens to be the head coach of the Kitchener Rangers. I've never seen the guy smile in my life. So how Finland is, I don't know how they're he's grumpy, that guy. Anyway, Dave Jaworski, your thoughts. What are we going to do? How do we get happier?
I think that the key is, Mike, is that we need to refocus and retrench on our neighbors and our neighborhood and our happiness. As you've said in some of your openings before about the boring, we need to get rid of the boring. We need some more excitement and enthusiasm. And, I really wish that right now, I looked at the report and it said one of the questions is on if the score was a ladder from 1 to 10 of happiness, and 10 is the most happy, where are you on that ladder? And the answer has gone from like 7.8 now to 6.8. And you think about it, what would you give yourself of your level of happiness now? Maybe a 7 or something like that. And that's there's a lot more happiness to be generated in a community, particularly like ours, and never mind a nation. And as we learned from Sam, you can't blame it on the crappy weather, because a lot of the crappy weather places are all at the top, and somehow we're 25th here. We do have our biggest neighbor to the south of us is sort of seemingly unhappy with us, or at least one person is. And that's causing concern. I think everybody's concerned, whether it be for themselves as a youth or grandparents for their grandchildren of what's going to be happening. There's a lot of things changing with AI, social media, jobs, and that, and people are concerned. So we need some certainty, and we need, I think, probably more friends, more real friends, and meeting up, and probably meeting up in a park and having a beer.
I like it. Well, I think we changed Dave's attitude on the show today, fellas. That's pretty good. Dave Jaworski, former mayor of Waterloo and now a dedicated but so-so pickleball player. Philip Mills is the CEO of Habitat for Humanity Waterloo Region, and Sam Nabby, the project coordinator with 1 Million Neighbors, also a part of Hold the Line WR. Thank you all for your time and your thoughts on the show today. Look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
That concludes the Friday 4 Roundtable for another week here on the program, but it doesn't conclude our time together. I'm going to get you an update from the 570 News Center, and then it's wide open phone lines for you. You can weigh in with your thoughts of the day or the week. It's our final 60 minutes together. Maybe you've got some ideas from the conversations we just had. We could even explore further what we do to become a happier place to live. Free Phones Friday with open lines for you begins right after this on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
It's got a lot of power, and it makes me feel like it makes me feel like
A little bit of Michael Jackson and Don't Stop Till You Get Enough by request from Clinton on this All Request Friday disco edition. I will not tell a lie. I can kind of get behind that one a little bit. Not the biggest fan of disco here. Fortunately for me, only 3 more disco songs to play. Which will they be? Depends on which songs you requested, in which order Devin decides to play them in. It is your open line hour to finish the week, same way we do it every week. Free Phones Friday to close out our time together. Let's get right to our calls because the phone lines are already getting busy. Still a line for you, though, if you want to be a part of it. Jersey Bill is going to start us off. Good afternoon, Billy.
Hey, I just want to make something clear. And that is that I'm not entirely against the person of Donald Trump. Somebody said I always attack him. It just so much of what he does is so obvious that it's hard to not refer to it as you yourself have said, unfortunately, I have to say it again. Say something about him again because it was so funny. So sad in a way. The way he brought up Pearl Harbor to the Japanese Prime Minister, while when he was talking to the German Chancellor. He just brought up the fact that, that's part of my own personal heritage, and he wouldn't bring up to him the atrocities the Germans did during World War II. It's always sort of been this way. Those who don't look like us, unfortunately, for a segment of the population in the U.S., are always their crimes seem to be worse than those who do look like us. And I'm saying this about the maybe not so much the majority, but the definitely the leadership of the United States. And it's sad to see that happening across the board, and even in Mr. Hegseth showing that deference to a certain kind of Christian nationalist idea, and him invoking God no less than the Ayatollahs invoke their version of God, or others might do the same from other civilizations. And I just find the whole thing to be very sad, and I wish it sort of turned around and that a more reasonable attitude would take hold.
Billy, I appreciate the call. I think it is a sad reality, and I appreciate you shining a bit of a light on it today, those who do not look like us. But a fair point to be made across the board. Ron is next on Free Phones Friday. Good afternoon, Ron. Ron? Where's Ron? Ron, you abandoned me. That's okay. You can call back if you want to. I'm going to consider, though, if you leave me hanging like that, will I really put you at the top of the list when you call back in? Yes, I will. Phone lines are open, and if Ron gets back to us, we'll make sure he's the first call, because something must have gone wrong there. He was around, but he must have been on mute or something like that. Anne is with us, though, as well. Good afternoon. Anne?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm calling from Guelph. I was going to call in yesterday, but ran out of time.
Okay.
Just about when you were discussing people breaking into your home and either your animals or you taking it into your own hands to deal with it.
Yeah.
Just some information. I do have a dog that's otherwise very friendly, but you don't want to enter my home if, number one, I'm not there or I don't invite you in. So when that situation happened and the fellow was charged, I thought, geez, I wonder if I would be if my dog attacked somebody breaking into my house, which he absolutely would. So I spoke to a police officer I know and was advised to get a beware of dog sign and have it visible. So I got them on Amazon and stuck it on my front glass and my back glass. And he said, if you have that and somebody chooses to enter your home uninvited, if your dog attacks them, then that's their own fault.
As long as you have the beware of dog sign.
Yeah.
Interesting. I did not know that absolved you of all responsibility.
Yeah, so I wasn't aware of that. But yes, that's what he said to do. And somebody breaks in and your dog seriously injures or maims them, that's their fault because they walked into your home with a sticker that's clearly visible.
Okay. So, and I appreciate the call.
Just an FYI.
Good to hear from you today. Thank you very much for that. It certainly has been a hot topic this week, hasn't it? The Premier's, I would say, rather reckless comments the other day about congratulating a homeowner who shot a home invader and then said, kind of doubled down on it, congratulating that shooter again and saying you should have shot him more times. That's where it gets a little bit fuzzy for me. I think there are ways that as a leader you could choose words more carefully. I don't disagree generally with the sentiment. The home invader has no business doing what he's doing. So in protection of one's person and or property, I'm kind of on team homeowner here. I just think the Premier could have used some different language in that regard. That's all. Grant, you're next on Talkback or Free Phones Friday. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. There's a song that's out. And it starts with, hey. Remember that song?
Kind of.
Yeah, so I'm going to do my version and add the Bulldogs and Tanner Lamb to it. Hey, what are you doing, the Bulldogs, taking over the whole league today? Hey, Mr. McKee, you better watch out for that Tanner Lamb. I bet you can't tame him. Hey, watch out, all you other teams. The Rangers will blow you away. That's it, Mikey. Have a good day, bud.
Thank you, Grant. If I haven't said it before, let me say it again. Doing open line talk radio is just like Forrest Gump's box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And for some reason that I will never be able to explain, I will want to because that's the way my mind works. I want explanations. I want answers. But I will never be able to explain to you what motivated Grant to call in today and sing his Buffalo Bills-esque song about the Kitchener Rangers, Tanner Lamb, and the Brantford Bulldogs. Because the Brantford Bulldogs will win the Hamilton Spectator Trophy this year as the team that finishes the OHL regular season with the most points. And the Kitchener Rangers hope to finish second. But if they meet in the playoffs, it will not be for quite some time yet. So Grant is looking a little further down the road. But hey, you do you, and you want to sing? Then you sing your heart out. Kyle, you're next. Free Phones Friday. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Patty Fest is on full swing, buddy.
Yeah, it
We're
is.
at a concert tonight.
I like it.
Going to see Nate Holler. And then tomorrow, I've got my bologna sandwiches all ready to be made. I got a 12-pack of beer, because you know what's tomorrow? The 12 hours of Sebring. So that's another sports car race tomorrow.
Nice.
And the best part is I can listen to some hockey before we go up to the concert tonight. So going to catch you a little bit, go to the concert, come back, see what the score is, and then sit down all day and eat my bologna sandwiches, drink some beer, and watch the sports car racing. So it should be good. Why not, right? I mean, like, what else? The weather's kind of not doing very nice out there. If it was me, I'd be cutting the lawn, having a beer outside, a couple of weeks, hopefully that'll be like that, having the barbecue going, playing some cornhole in the backyard, but I got to wait for that. So that's the only thing I'll be doing this weekend, Mike, but I just want to say that go Rangers go. Hopefully you have a good time tonight, and I'll try to listen to you a little bit before I head over to the concert. So thanks a lot, buddy. Happy St. Patrick's. Full swing here at Patty Fest in Listowel. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it. Patty Fest is one of the signature events in the beautiful community of Listowel, and I just love the visual of bologna sandwiches and beer. Nothing says the weekend like a bologna sandwich and a beer. It is Free Phones Friday, where you bring to the table whatever it is you would like to bring, be it a song or a story about a bologna sandwich. We could also talk about making Canada a happier place, because we're way down on that happiness index. Or maybe you checked out a little bit of Joe Rogan's podcast with conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, and you've got thoughts on that. We'll keep taking your calls on Free Phones Friday on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Touch me in the pouring rain, and the moment that you wander far from me, I wanna feel you in my arms again. And you come to me on a summer breeze, keep me warm in your love, then you softly leave, and it's me you need to show. How deep is your love?
Craig wanted to hear some Bee Gees, the band that started the whole ordeal today. When we were talking about this week in music history, the Brothers Gibb had the top 3 spots on the music charts locked down, either by a song they wrote and recorded or just wrote. And so we thought, let's do disco. It was a rash decision on my part. And Craig said, How Deep Is Your Love by the Bee Gees is the song he wanted to hear on All Request Friday this week. Disco is not my favorite thing, but you've come through with lots of requests, and we still have more to play before the hour is out, and the show is done for another week. Our final hour every week is what we call Free Phones Friday, where our phone lines are freely opened to you, so you can share your thoughts on the events of the day or the week. And we'll get right back to the phones. Preston Paul, Farwell's Force member number 45 is with us. Hello, Paul.
Good afternoon, Grand Poobah. How you doing?
I'm great, my friend. How are you?
Well, pretty good now. Winter's over, and so the disco's almost over. So my ears are bleeding, buddy.
Oh, Paul, I'm with you, buddy. Sometimes we do things for our friends that we might not necessarily enjoy ourselves, right?
Yeah. Maybe we can have the next one be about springtime and the flowers and the birds chirping or something like that. You know, not that disco ball going up in the sky. They're going around and around and around.
Well, let me ask you about this, because Heather sent me an email, Paul, and she said, "How about power ballads, heavy metal power ballads for next week to kind of cleanse our palates?"
Sure, that sounds like a great one too.
All right. Well, you and Heather seem to agree, so we'll make that next week's theme.
All right.
All right.
Sounds like a good plan. So I just wanted to call on that and just this crazy world we're living in. But the Rangers are doing good. Can't wait just to get the playoffs started. And I'm sitting in the backyard at about 20 degrees Celsius listening to a Kitchener Ranger game. I can't wait for that.
I love it, Paul. I love it. Thanks, buddy.
You have a good weekend, Mike.
You too, my friend. You know, oh, does that take me back? So, first of all, I'll tell you where it takes me back to in just a minute. Because, you know, there's always a tangent, a.k.a. a story with me on this. But I remember it vividly. I remember it like it was yesterday. So, we are entering the final weekend of the regular season with the Kitchener Rangers. And really, I'm anxious for the playoffs now, too, because come on with your coming on. We've wrapped up first place, and the games are almost meaningless this weekend. Although, if you were listening to the coaches' show earlier today, you heard UC Ahoka say, hey, listen, we could still be passed by Ottawa for second place overall. We want to get to second place overall. We want to make sure we have that, because then, you know, if things change in the Eastern Conference and Brantford gets knocked out and we make it all the way, anyway, it would just give us more chances at home ice all the way through, is all that it means. So I'm ready for the playoffs. We'll get through these weekend games. We'll have fun with them. We'll probably see some younger players with the Rangers, upcoming talent, and then we'll start the playoffs 1 week from today. But as for today, your final regular season home game, everything is the same right here on your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey, okay? Josh Piercy and I going to get things started at 6:30 with your Harris Law pregame show tonight. And then we'll have all of the action between the Rangers and the Sting. And then following the game, JP and I stick around late, take your calls, talk some hockey. We love doing it. You seem to enjoy calling us and rattling our cages a little bit. So it's all coming up for you. 6:30 tonight. It starts 11 o'clock before we sign off on your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey. What Paul said about being outside, 20-degree day, listening to a Kitchener Rangers game. I remember this so well from when I was a kid. I was a teenager, and my buddies and I, we all had old classic cars. My buddy was driving a Plymouth Valiant, and I remember pulling up to his girlfriend's place in his Valiant, and we were listening to Don Cameron call the Kitchener Rangers game on the radio up in the Sioux. And it was just such a magical time. So, and you think back, the 1980s, like this is not a false memory here, just because of my admiration and adoration for Don Cameron. Back in the 80s, Kitchener Rangers and Sioux Greyhounds had some fantastic playoff series against each other. So it would stand to reason that it's a beautiful spring day. We have the classic cars out of storage, and I'm in my buddy's Valiant with the AM radio tuned to 570. Well, to be honest with you, it was probably 1090 back then, right? It was 1090 back then. Doesn't matter. I'm listening to the one and only Don Cameron call a game from Sault Ste. Marie on a beautiful spring day. And it just seemed so magical because Sault Ste. Marie was like this foreign land so far away. I couldn't even really comprehend it. I just knew it was the longest distance the Rangers would travel. And I just remember listening to that game and cheering on the Rangers from afar, sitting in the front seat of my buddy's 64. I think he has 64 Plymouth Valiant. 66? Anyway, that's all irrelevant stuff. I remember listening to Don call a game from the Sioux during the playoffs back in the mid to late 1980s. And it really has stuck with me all these years later. And who would have thunk that I'd be going to the Sioux and calling games from there for you these days now, too. It's a funny life, this is. Andre is next on Free Phones. Hello, Andre.
Game day, baby.
Game day, baby.
A couple of things here, Mike.
Okay.
Yesterday, I forgot to say, because I got to focus, but today's another day, about Gary Chuck. What a handsome fella. What a sense of humor. Like, I would love to drink some wine with that guy.
You want to have drinks with Gary Chalk?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, listen, he's a handsome guy. He's a funny guy. He's a good friend of the show. Every Thursday morning at 10:30.
So how do I get him on Facebook? So I can follow him or whatever you call it, his app or his follows.
Andre, you go to livingretired.press on the internet.
Okay, because I was listening to your show today, and we've been talking about it for weeks or months, whatever, and how the people are sad when they drive, and how the people are sad when they walk or whatever, and it just takes these little things to be happy, right? I wouldn't say Kitchener Rangers because that's huge, but that's the heart of the city. But all these little things. Like my kids right now are gone to Fun Villa in Kitchener, and there's all these different activities that we get in the neighborhood and community. And I'm very thankful for these little things that our community does for our children, and trying to keep them innocent in this life that we're living, Mike. So again, go Rangers! I can't wait to hear from you tonight, Mike. And I can't wait to hear from Gary Chuck again.
All right, Andre, thank you. You'll hear from Gary Chalk every Thursday morning, 10:30. Gary writes a humor column called Living Retired, and we do Living Retired on the radio Thursday mornings at 10:30. It's a lot of fun. Gary's a funny guy, and yes, he's a handsome guy. Too bad you can't see him on the radio, huh? And yes, Josh Piercy and I will be on the air tonight with Kitchener Rangers coverage starting at 6:30 right here on your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey. And don't worry, people aren't always sad when they drive or when they walk. We were just talking about the happiness index where Canada seems to have fallen way down to 25th place. We were in 5th place in 2015. Gee, I wonder what happened then compared to now. If you've got suggestions as to how to make Canada a happier place, we're all ears. Or just take advantage of the free phone lines that are open to you this Friday afternoon on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Nate, Farwell's Force member number 8, wanted to hear Ring My Bell by Anita Ward on this All Request Friday, disco edition, as we wind things down here for another week. Final half hour of Free Phones Friday, where we take your calls and let you start the conversation. We'll get right back to those phones for Kathy. Good afternoon, Kathy.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm good.
Good.
I want to address the happiness issue we have with our children right now.
Sure.
I think part of the problem is because we've raised them in a drive-through and instant gratification. They wait for nothing. They plan for nothing. And we take all of that away from them, and I think we're cheating them by doing that. I can ask you, Mike, were you a happy kid when you were 12 doing a paper route, saving for a car?
I think so.
Yeah. And when you got the car, how did you feel?
King of the world, Kathy.
And incredibly proud of what you'd done. But now we take that away from our kids. If they want the car and we can afford it, we buy the car immediately. We buy the car they want. They don't plan for it. They don't have the luxury of saving for something, thinking about what they're going to do, putting it together, and then having the pride at the other end of it. And I think we're cheating our kids by doing that. We think we're being good to them because we have the money to do it. But honestly believe we're cheating them of their happiness.
That's an interesting way to look at it, Kathy. I appreciate your call and your thoughts on that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day. There you go. We're doing too much. Kids will be happier if we put maybe a little more control into their hands to plan for the things that they want and defer some gratification until they can get there and then be gratified. One of the things that struck me, along with the commentary that we had, this goes back to our Friday 4 roundtable and the discussion around Canada's place on the happiness index, which has plummeted in the last 10 years. And it's plummeted primarily in young people. Experts were weighing in on the report saying social media plays a part in this. And I don't dispute that for 1 second. But one of the other things that struck me is if I am Kathy talks about being that 12-year-old with a newspaper route and saving for a car, which I didn't really know I was saving for at the time, but I shared the story the other day that, I started my paper route when I was 10, and my father taught me some basic financial principles about paying myself first and whatnot. And lo and behold, 4 years later, plus interest, I was able to buy my first car with money I had socked away while I was delivering newspapers. If you're a kid today, you're not, I don't think, necessarily anyway, thinking about saving for a car. You're wondering how you'll ever save for a house. And it seems so overwhelming when you look at prices of $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 for homes. So anyway, I don't know. I feel though that I was not only a happy kid, I'm a relatively happy adult, despite outwards appearances on this show and the cranky self that I bring every day. Greg is with us on Free Phones Friday. Farwell's Force member number 38. Hello, Greg.
Hey, Mike, just three quick things.
Sure.
Regarding this, the government's going to cap or the ticket thing. How are you going to enforce that? Like, say a Ranger season seat holder, say for every game that he can't make it to, wants to tack on $20 a seat and sell them off to whoever. Like, how's that going to be monitored? Or is it really an online thing only? Because in reality,
yeah, you're not going to. If you come to me with tickets and you want to sell them personally, that's not going to change. But this would be for online, of course.
Just online, and then I'm not sure how. Okay. Anyways, I just wondered, like, is it going to be enforceable and how simple will that be? But anyways, the next thing, just about this whole drinking and events kind of thing, is the definition of event, is it pretty vague or is it pretty specific out there? Because is it something that's like a blues fest, or is an event, a family reunion, let's go over to the park? Like
it is a little more, I think it's the former, like Blues Fest, because those who wish to have these looser alcohol rules will have to still apply for a permit. So I don't think the family might say, hey, we're going to Victoria Park. Can you license the pavilion for us, or license some outdoor space? I don't know what that would look like.
Oh, not just drag your cooler over and get at it then.
Well, Greg, just drag your cooler over and get at it anyway. Just get at it on your own time, okay? Keep me out of it.
All right. You talked me into it. I know, and just another thing, too, and some people say, okay, that's going to, make things worse. Well, it's like anything else, like the small majority that might get out of hand. It's just like the small majority that get caught for stunt driving and whatever. It's like, because that, like, let's ban driving from everybody. No, it's going to be, overall pretty probably, well behaved, I would say. And just one last thing, when you mentioned Don Cameron, I was just curious, in your style nowadays, do you ever try to copy anything from him, or are you totally on your own, or do you do anything like he used to do?
I do one thing I shouldn't even say just one. I have borrowed some of Don's, what I would call Don Cameron isms. One of my favorite being high, wide, and not so handsome. And I just change it up a little bit because I don't want to steal Don's completely, and I just say high, wide, and not at all handsome. But I don't know what that even meant, except a shot that went high and wide of the goal. But Don would say high, wide, and not so handsome. I should take more tips from him, though. He was as classy and professional as they come. Like, he just, everything. Sometimes I think I could dial it back about 30% and still be okay. Because Don, anyway, but.
And he was kind of like the measuring bar, eh?
He was for me, for sure.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny, I don't know what's happening, but, that old Snyder thing, they said they were going to rename the Mets or whatever.
Yep.
I had a suggestion at the time. I said, how about the Don Cameron Memorial Square? Like, I didn't hear back, though, but I basically said, like, let's name that after him. And I was hoping that would get some traction, but I forget what Mets is supposed to be, but I know it's like, okay. I think my idea was better, but anyways, that's it.
Okay, Greg, thanks very much. I'm trying. It was John Schneider, right? John Metzger. I'm going to look it up. There's a connection to the Schneider family, though, and I should have this off the top of my head, and I don't, and I feel dumb for that. Anyway, we do have the Don Cameron Media Room at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. Let's not forget that. Terry is next on Free Phones Friday. Good afternoon, Terry.
Hey, good afternoon, Mike. Kathy, your previous caller, she was bang on. I mean, when you deprive your kids of the value of earning stuff, because let's face it, we don't value anything that we don't earn. It's taken for granted. So
sure, yeah.
We're depriving our children of that pride of being able to earn something. That's why they don't value anything anymore. And, you know, it's like society's kind of like become what it is. Mike, I have a quick question. So I know that technically the Rangers can still catch Brantford in points-wise, but does Brantford have the tiebreaker over the Rangers
Yeah.
in the event that they meet?
That's right.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure about that. Yeah, I'll be going to the game next Sunday night. So I guess they're playing at 7 o'clock because of the TV to accommodate TV, is it?
I think in the playoffs they often do, and we actually don't do nearly as many afternoon games as we used to. It's more the way it's usually done now. So
yeah, I've also noticed the last little while the Rangers rarely play on Sunday afternoons at home. There were very few games this year. There were some, but not.
So the evening ones are, I guess, more accessible to the fans. So there you go.
Yeah, because I was asked. I know a friend that has season tickets, and he asked me this week if I was interested in going next Sunday. I said, yeah, for sure. And then I asked, is it 2 o'clock? He goes, no, it's at 7. So I'll be there.
Okay. Thanks for the warning.
I hope, yeah, for sure. I hope it's Guelph so I can see Walter. meet the one, the legend.
There you go.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Terry. You too. To Greg's call earlier about the Mets, which is the name given to the redevelopment of the former Schneider's plant on Cortlandt Avenue. John Schneider. I was trying to figure out where's the Mets. J.M. Schneider, the M being for Mets. So there you go. That's why they're calling it the Mets, Greg, which I think probably makes sense. As much as I want to support a Don Cameron Square, actually, I kind of don't, because Don would not like such attention. I could tell you a story. Do you remember the time they tried to recognize Don for his 3,000th game called? And he found it at the last minute, and boy, oh boy, that plan stopped in a hurry. He wanted nothing to do with nothing. Don always would say, I'm just a broadcaster. He did not want any attention. No fanfare for our dear friend, Mr. Cameron. We'll go next to Ellen on Free Phones Friday. Good afternoon, Ellen.
Well, good afternoon. I'm number 345.
Farwell's Force member number 345. Great to hear from you, Ellen.
Yeah, I'm curious as to how they take this survey of Canada being happy.
Well, that is an excellent question. This index has been around since 2012 now, and I didn't look into the exact questions that were on it, but it's the World Happiness Rankings. Comes out every year now.
Well, I think everybody in Canada should be kind of kissing the ground they walk on, that we actually live in Canada.
I don't disagree with the sentiment, Ellen. I think we are in a very good place. And, you know, I think one of the reasons we may feel less happy is because this place gives us all the freedom to complain about all the things when we want to.
Well, good point, Mike.
All right, Ellen. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for calling in today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Great to hear you. Bye-bye. Good to hear from you today. We'll get one more in before the break. Dan is with us on Free Phones Friday. Hello, Dan.
Good afternoon, Mr. Farwell. How are you, sir?
Oh, Mr. Hutter, my good friend. I'm better now from hearing from you.
Oh, then your day is so sad. Listen, Mike, we could go on easily to grouse about economics, politics, how happy people are in Canada. And I just want to toss out that, you know, sometimes we've got to sit back and really appreciate the simple things and the beautiful things around us. And I'll give you an example. You know, I get lost in my own world sometimes and, you know, get in my own personal grumpiness. My mom was at Trinity Village retirement home, okay? Going over to visit her. And there's this elderly couple. Now, I'm 65, so, I mean, elderly is, you know, perspective here. Okay, they look like they were born 2 years before Moses, okay? But they're walking in the park, and they had one of those walkers where there's a built-in seat, and the lady was sitting in the seat facing backwards, and her husband was pushing her, and the two of them were totally eye to eye and engaged with each other and present with each other. I thought, you know, this is beautiful. And then they stopped, and she got up, and he sat down, and she started pushing him, and I went, you know, I think it's just a beautiful thing. Like, I want to be that old couple one day. And I think, you know, sometimes we get so worked up about other things. We miss the inspirational people around us, and we miss the beauty around us. You know, as the Puritans say, we got to water the flowers and not the rocks. And I just thought, you know what, let's when you hear people go, oh, Canada's not so happy. Make your own happiness and be inspired by things around you.
I think it's an excellent reminder, Dan. It really is. And there is a ton of it. That story is fantastic. Thanks for sharing it.
Take care, my friend.
You too. And thanks for not bugging me about the Leafs.
I'm walking away.
All right, Dan, be well.
Mike, if you want that, I mean, I hear they got a new team doctor, though.
Oh, you don't say?
It's Kevorkian.
All right. You're done, Hutter. Get out of here. See ya. How do you like that? I can say that to one of my former high school teachers now. You're done, Hutter. Get out of here. One of the best I ever had, and still to this day. See, he's going to drop a little kernel of wisdom onto us. Like the Puritans say, you got to water the flowers, not the rocks. By the way, just to that end, remember that even from my grumpy self, with all the kvetching and moaning and complaining I do on this show, every day at 10:20 or thereabouts, I don't always time it out perfectly, but every day around 10:20, you're going to get your story that reminds you that not everybody is a jackwagon. And we have a little uplifting story for you, just to remind you that sometimes those flowers are being watered. It's the Mike Farwell Show, Free Phones Friday, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I'm Rick James. You know how the rest of that goes, right? That is You and I, by request from David, Farwell's Force member number 77 on this All Request Friday Disco edition. Fridays always finish with free phones, open phone lines to hear from you. It's our final hour of the week. Right back to the show, the lines. Sean is with us, Farwell's Force member number 165. Afternoon, Sean.
Good afternoon, Mike. You know, I was looking at this happiness index, and one thing I have found interesting is there's not a single English-speaking country in the top 10. The highest two are Australia at 11 and New Zealand at 12. Canada's way down at 18th, and the UK is the next one, you know, down at like about 23rd, and the U.S. is below that. Even Mexico is more happy than any English-speaking country. I'm just wondering if there's some sort of problem that's happening in the Anglosphere. Are we suffering some sort of cultural dilemma, or like what's going on with us? That's what I'm wondering.
An interesting observation, Sean. The Queen's English has abandoned us some way, somehow. Preston Keith is with us on free phones. Hi, Keith. Okay, Keith is not with us on free phones, but you know who is? Tom. Hello, Tom.
Yeah, hi, Mike. Hope you have a happy weekend, and I love the Leafs. This is it. Doesn't matter how bad they play.
But you don't mean that, Tom. You don't mean that.
No,
you don't. You
love to watch them.
No, you don't.
I can criticize them.
You're not still watching that team. They're a mess. They're a hot mess, Tom. You're not still.
They are.
No, stop it. They're terrible.
I grew up with them since '60.
So did I, but you're not still watching them. They're so bad, Tom.
Yeah, no, I keep watching, and I watch also the Raptors.
Okay.
I'm just saying that Carney should stick more to his country and do something here. Like, stay away from the world politics. It's really bad, and don't weaponize the country. That's all I got to say.
Okay, Tom, appreciate it. And I love that your fandom continues to this moment. I was talking to another coworker of mine this morning, and we're both Leafs fans, and I said to him, I don't even pay attention anymore. I hear Simon Bennett tell me during the morning sports on All News Mornings that the Leafs are playing tonight, and I'm like, yeah, so what? I got other things to do. They're still my team. I'm just having a very difficult time watching them lately. Mary, you get the last word on Free Phones Friday.
Oh, and I don't need much time.
Okay.
Mike, you've made my day happy.
So Mary's happiness index is a 1?
Oh, it's a 10.
A 10? Oh, okay, you going, I got you. I love it. Number 1.
Yeah,
it should.
And it could even go up to 50. Listen, you've got to make your happiness yourself.
There you go. I'm glad we made your day happy.
And you really, really did. And it keeps my mind active because, you know, it's pretty old.
Thank you, Mary. Keeps my mind active, too, because equally, well, maybe not equally old. Mary's got a few years on me, but nonetheless, I'm glad we could engage in the conversation. Hey, I've got an idea. It's a wild idea, I know, but let me run it past you if you don't mind. Next week, and I'll start first thing Monday, okay, at 9 o'clock. I'll come back here and we'll engage in some conversation. I'll open up the phone lines and we can talk about all the things and interact with one another and discuss the issues of the day. And we'll do it every day next week from 9 until 1. How's that? I know, pretty wild idea, but I certainly appreciate these daily conversations. They're good for me. They're good for Mary. I hope they're good for you in some way. And I wanted to leave you with what a good buddy of mine posted on his Facebook page today, because we lost Chuck Norris, and I was sharing some of my favorite Chuck Norris isms, if you will. Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups. He pushes the earth down. Superman wears Chuck Norris pajamas. At the age of 86, we have lost Chuck Norris. My buddy Mike says Chuck Norris did not die. His body just couldn't hold in his explosive essence any longer. The world is now entirely Chuck Norris. I can get behind that, Mikey. Thanks for that. And it's the note we will leave you on. You are invited to join us for Kitchener Rangers hockey starting tonight at 6:30. Josh Piercy and I will be right here bringing you all the action. My name is Mike Farwell. You are a force for good. Bye for now.